And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We have not completely abandoned this concept yet.
Brains?
Brains.
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, this time we got pictures.
Let's see how well this scheme works out for us.
Hey, can't do any worse than the last time we did it. So,
But
back
they
from the.
didn't get to listen to the unaired episode where we got mauled to death by turkeys.
On the plus side of reviving back from the dead, we are going to be talking about a show that does deal with the dead.
And itself is coming back from the dead.
But
And
first,
yes,
oh, go ahead.
we are completely jumping on the Bleach hype train. We are not abashedly, saying, hey, let's do this for algorithm purposes. No, we're aware that everyone's talking about Bleach, so why the heck shouldn't we? And while I don't think we're going to have a 100% unique opinion, let's just get it out here right up front. We have been fans of Bleach since we watched it, and we are still fans of Bleach.
Mm-hmm. So, before we get started, I would like to bring up a couple of rules that I think we should always have for every episode. And
Mhm.
well, first of all, this is going to be Trigger and Chaos presents um, Semi Perfect. Now, you might be wondering, what is Semi Perfect?
Well, it's not quite perfection.
Exactly. These are shows, movies, comics, what have you, anything that me and Em can sit and talk about that we both have some knowledge about, one more than the other, obviously. That's how life
Or
works.
maybe somehow even, but yeah, one of us will always be a fan of what we're going to talk about, whether it be something we love the high end, or we're like, I really wish I loved this more, or I really wish this was good, or what have you. One of us will have been a bigger fan to it, and the other one will have been at least along the lines of, I have heard of said topic.
Mm. But I want to get a set rules that I would like to follow for every episode that we do.
Yeah.
So, rule one is be respectful.
Hmm.
As soon as I learned to spell.
Yeah, good luck with that. You have been trying to do that for what, 30 years? You haven't quite gotten it yet.
Hey, just
But
put.
yeah,
But and what I mean
well,
is that we can even between me and them, we can get to a point that we have the. I think the term is agree to disagree.
yes, we will try to have that as our
We will,
mindset.
yeah, we will respect your opinion as long as you respect ours.
Yeah.
Now, you can say that you completely think a show that we like is absolute garbage. That's fine.
Or, or if you think we are being too harsh on the show you love,
Mm-hmm.
that is fine. Never, ever, ever think we are saying you have to have the exact same opinion as us. Or if we like X show, you must love X show.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with you. That is a big problem with me. There are many shows that I do not like because people have said not liking it makes me a terrible person. So I go from not liking said show to hating said show because if you cram something down my throat, I'm going to throw it back up at you.
Right. But to more than that, and this is a pet peeve of mine. I would like something more than just I don't like it. Like if you say I don't like it, this character, I don't like how this is presented. Like
Yeah,
there's a reason you don't like it. It's just not dislike.
yeah. If your reason is just the same reason for me and not liking One Piece, the art style just does not jive with me. That's a legitimate reason. I'm
Right. You're.
done. You don't need
Hmm.
to explain yourself anymore. If it's this character sounds like nails on a chalkboard, well, now you know why I don't like SpongeBob.
Exactly. You have a reason. You're not just saying, "Oh, this show is just garbage."
Yeah, and if your reason is, well, reviewer X doesn't like this show, that's not your opinion. That's theirs. You can agree with their opinion, but do not let anyone make an opinion for you.
So, and also being respectful between if we have if somehow we actually manage to get more than one guest to start on this crazy
Mhm.
train,
And
be
the other thing
respectful
about
to other people,
yeah,
which I will hold the right to if I believe things are getting too out of hand, I will kick people from the chat.
yeah, go. I agree with that.
I
What we
will
like,
I will give it a chance because I can understand some people get heated. If they need to take a quick breather, fine. I can
yeah,
understand some people want to um
yeah. Another way we need to be respectful
yeah,
is we do not tolerate any hate speech.
no.
I don't care if you're left wing or right wing. Once you start bringing in hate speech about something to someone, no.
Now, if you're talking about something that say goes on in the show or something like that, that's a different thing altogether.
Hmm.
But because I could also talk about like terrorism and stuff like that when we were talking about in the
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Chris with Code
Code
Geass.
Geass. Yeah, I mean, you gotta talk about that. But what we
Mm-hmm.
mean by that, what I meant by that is, well, this is a safe space. We want our audience to feel comfortable with themselves and each other.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start attacking each other for any stupid reason, you're not welcome here.
Now, the other, let's get on to another rule because I think that's
Yeah,
pretty much spot on for where we stand to it. Second rule: at least one or two of the people on the show.
yeah. Like I said, someone has to know something about it.
Because otherwise, uh, ignore that. You saw nothing.
So now you guys can't see it, but I actually get to see what Soul type, and
Well, this is being in the recording, so don't even start.
no, but I actually get to watch how you look when you're typing. Oh my goodness gracious, that explains a lot. You know, you're supposed to look at what you're typing.
No, you're not actually.
Actually, yes, yes, you are. You're not
No,
supposed to
no,
watch your
you're
keyboard.
actually supposed to look at your computer when you're typing.
Yeah, you're supposed to look at your computer when you're typing. You're not supposed to look at your keyboard. You were staring down at the keyboard like, I'm learning how to teach Mrs. Johnson, or whatever your grade one teacher was.
I don't even remember his name or her name. I don't even remember first grade or kindergarten or anything in elementary whatsoever.
That explains too much.
Shut up. But
It'd be a very boring podcast if I did. But yeah, like we said, one of us will know it. One of us might be completely on the lines of, "Ooh," but I know of it.
yeah,
Like, it'll be very hard for us to do a podcast about.
yeah,
I don't even know if this is a pizza topping, let alone a show.
yeah.
Actually, it's a manga.
Because I want to at
Oh,
least say have the guest speaker if we have one,
yeah,
and
the
one of
guest would.
us know about the topic.
Mhm.
Now the other person can be completely clueless to me. It would be a good learning experience for them.
Oh, yeah, I
So
generally enjoyed that. That was one of my favorite things about the other podcast I was part of was watching an anime for the first time sometimes. Like I didn't enjoy One Piece, but I did like watching it for the first time.
yeah, there's some. We'll get to One Piece some other time. We can discuss it.
Hmm.
I'm kind of like a half fan. Like there are parts of it I enjoy, and then like everything else I just skip. But
That's still a legitimate fan, in my opinion,
mm,
regardless of what gatekeepers will say.
so that covers that. Anything?
Nope, that's it. That's all I want to say about that. Rule
Any other
three.
rules you can think of on top of your head? Because we can always add more. Much like how I
Wait,
think.
you came up with these four rules and you didn't write four rules.
Well, I want to know if you wanted to add anything instead of me just taking
No,
over everything.
rule
You are my
continue.
co-star. I have respect for you.
All right, then go to rule three, and I will tell you what I think of that.
Okay. So, as previously mentioned, I do think it should be an important rule that you cover anyway when we talk about be respectful.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that was part of poop your shot, in my opinion. But yeah, no,
But
yeah.
here's the reason why I say that differently,
Mhm.
because hate speech is, I think there is, especially with the current day and age, there's a lot of how do I want to put
Toxicity.
yes, and there's also some people that are how can I put this delicately a little too sensitive for some topics. Now,
Hmm.
especially with today's day and age, there are some people that are just you can't talk to them unless they're in a bubble per se. Now, hate speech specifically is attacking that person or that
Yeah.
if you're talking about have an argument about the subject of the show, then that's not hate speech until per se you start attacking that person.
Yeah.
Now, if you're say having a
or
heat,
or or the creator or the people
mm-hmm,
behind the scenes. These are people. You've got to people tend to forget that even though there's a screen generally in front of them, there are people on the other side of those
right,
with real feelings, real loved ones, and I don't care how bad a story is, unless the story itself is directly itself hate speech. You don't get to like send vitriol at someone. You don't, and you never get to send like death threats to somebody.
No.
I can't think of any reason to, and no, I have no arguments with Howard with this so far.
Because I can simply say to M, okay, well, I can see why you think such and such about said character, but I
Yeah,
disagree. I think he's being foolish or such and such. Because we've
yeah,
had that complete discussion about certain characters.
yeah. We don't like characters the same way. We
Hmm.
don't hate characters the same way. But we generally try not to hate the creators,
Hmm.
hate the fans.
Now,
We may
okay, sorry, go ahead.
we may be confused how people are a fan of something, but you have a right to be a fan of something even if I don't like it or Soul doesn't like it.
Hmm.
There are several series I legit hate and I do not ever want to talk about, but I want you to stay a fan of it. I don't want to say said show because every time I say said show, my phone hears it and I start getting ads for its terrible robots.
Okay. Now, Rule 4 may be a little weird, but once we explain it, I think a lot of people will understand it.
No Cthulhu in the pool?
Well, I think that's just every.
Yes. Yeah. I think I know.
Now,
Oh, no, Popal got it.
damn it.
And just think, guys, I'm the one with dyslexia. I don't know what his problem is.
Maybe I have dyslexia too, I just don't know it.
I mean, you could be undiagnosed with it. It is actually completely possible, and that's one of the problems with learning disabilities is they are hard to pick up, especially in school, because you have to fit in a cookie cutter shape.
But this is kind of a weird one. Now, if we say, I'm going to take an example from UM, but I can't think of his name for the life of me. Who's that one Batman actor you didn't like? Ben Affleck, I think it was, if I remember the names
Yes,
correctly. Okay,
I do not
now,
like him. I do not like him.
right. Now, that's fine. You don't like a person. Not going to argue if you say you have to like someone.
No,
However,
I don't like
because
him. I don't wish any harm to him.
exactly. But here's the thing: we are talking about the show itself.
Hmm.
Now, the show can be going bad because we think the actor may not be fit for that role, or we think that they were given terrible directions,
Hmm.
or the show itself just might be
No
revolving
fit
down
for
the
them.
toilet drain for all it really is.
That too.
But we do not wish harm on any actual actors, producers, or whatever opinion we have on them. That is, as I said, an opinion. There's
Yeah,
nothing to. We don't wish them harm. We don't send anybody out there. Like, we may say something, but at the end of the day, we're just talking. This is about the show itself and where
yeah.
we think it leads to.
We
Not
understand
at.
that. We understand that emotions can sometimes run
Mhm.
wild with what you want to say. And despite what people believe, when you're mad, you don't actually speak the truth. That's actually been debunked by psychiatry. Is when you're mad, you aren't speaking the truth. You're just on a tumbling train of thought.
Mhm.
So, the worst I have ever wished legitimately for someone is for them to step on a Lego. That is the most I've ever actually wished for someone, and I really hate that person.
Now, in the say case, someone says, "Oh well, so and so did this." I can't say not to say it because it's your
Uh-uh.
feelings, but at the end of it, it has nothing to do with this show.
Yeah,
This show is about, well, for Semi Perfect, it's talking about the show and the small things we think we can make better. Saying that you said said actor should be replaced by another actor could
could
fall into
be
that category.
yeah, especially if say uh, I need to bring this up. The characters in the show is voiced by Vic Mignogna. I think recasting him for the upcoming Thousand Year Blood War is a thing that needs to be done because Vic Mignogna has been charged with sexual assault, and I do not think people who have been charged with that kind of crime should continue to be in the limelight in any way. Until they are charged with it and go through the court system, no, they are innocent until proven guilty. But once they are proven guilty, I'm sorry, Vic. That actually makes me unable to watch some of the shows he was part of. He was the voice of Full Metal Opposites Edward Elric.
Really?
Yeah, he was also
Huh.
Broly, and Broly has been recast with Johnny Young Bosch because of this.
Oh yeah, I think I remember hearing about the second one.
Mm-hmm.
But again, along with that, that's also another good point you brought up. Anything
Mm-hmm.
that involves the courts or anything like that, Not involved with this.
No, we're not the jury and we're not the judge. We have opinions, but until they are proven, they don't really matter to me. And
Now,
even if someone is clearly guilty and then gets out of the court, that's more up in the air. But we'll talk about
mhm,
we don't we'll talk about if that happens.
right. Now,
But
I
we'll
think
try
those
not
are
to.
generally the four basic rules I want for this show.
Yeah,
Because I think it covers the intent and the prospect of it.
yeah.
Now, as I said before, semi perfect covers shows that we think are near perfect, but has that little tweak that could make the show overall better for one or both of us.
I mean, technically, nothing is perfect.
Yes.
So anything, the best things will be in semi-perfect, and that can range from shows what we think, series we think are magnificent, we enjoy it, but we can still go, well, there's that flaw, to
Hmm.
something along the lines of, oh, this is so good, but I really wish this entire season didn't happen. Along the lines of levels of perfection and imperfection.
Now, the
Uh,
other thing is the other half of this show is wasted potential.
this
These
is
are
generally these are generally shows or series that we can't get into or we were into and then they went so far off the rails we can't even recognize it anymore.
yes, and
uh, uh, for example, we did one on Naruto.
hmm
Naruto had great world building, but it just went so off the rails for me that I actually had to drop it.
I
Bleach,
yeah,
I never dropped.
I did finish Naruto, and I felt like it was still just going off the rails the farther it went along. I stuck
And
around
you
just to see because here's the thing: it went off the rails for me. I do admit to that, but at the same time, there's still that little bit of world building that kind of kept me going.
Mhm.
So,
for me, it went off the rails and hit the hospital where every character I liked was staying at. So I'm like, well, I have no one left to root for.
hmm
I guess I'll mosey on. Bleach, even at its worst, still had characters I'm like, I want to know what happens to you down the road, even if this is going at the speed of goddamn sound and I can't keep up with. But that's for when we ever actually get to the final arc of Bleach.
yes. Now we'll just put that away for now because we don't need that for at the moment. Now you also notice a slight difference between M and mine view of a show. I am the
Mm-hmm.
stubborn bastard that will, if I start a show, I usually generally finish it to the end, even if it's just absolute nonsense. And it's the
I am
foresight to actually drop it.
No, I will get up and walk away. I'm the kind of person who will leave a movie theater if the movie is that bad. I got that philosophy after watching the second Transformers movie by Michael Bay. Didn't leave the movie. I wish I did. I wish I did.
Sometimes that
So
has
after
paid
that point,
off for me. Sometimes that has not.
yes. And sometimes I have come back and gone like, oh, maybe I should have stuck around. Or I've come back years later. A fine example of that is Power Rangers. I dropped Power Rangers as a kid because I did not like anything after Time Force.
Yeah, I'm
I
trying to
should
remember
have.
how far was Time Force.
Time Force was, I think, the fourth season post went on. Anyway,
Okay.
I should have come back sooner because I ended up really liking Jungle Fury, and I think RPM is probably the best Power Ranger show. In fact, I think it competes with some of the best Sentai shows.
Ah.
So
Well,
yeah,
that's a discussion for later. Far, far later, hopefully. Because I like to think we get somewhere farther down the road with this.
yeah.
Okay. So then, let's go and start with the opening to our main topic.
Kaito Kube's most seminal hit, Bleach. Uh, Kubo is a mangaka who's created a few series. His other big one was Zombie Powder, but I've never actually enjoyed
I
gotten Zombie Powder.
I read that one. I think that was only like 5 issues long, if I
I
remember
think so,
right.
yeah.
It
I
was a
just
short one, but it was actually pretty solid. I liked it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Kubo is a very interesting writer and artist. A lot of people, let's just get out of the way. A lot of people say the man can't do backgrounds. The backgrounds are not his specialty, no, but he can do backgrounds. He tends to fall from the Akira Toriyama style of backgrounds, where he wants you to notice the character, not the background.
Hmm.
The background, other manga artists will do the character in the background, and you'll just be going like, "Wow, it's a visual feast for the eyes."
And there is one other thing that I think Kubo stories do very well that we'll be discussing later down the line here.
Mhm, mhm. Kubo also is a writer who does have a problem that I myself am guilty of when I have written stories for personal reading. Character bloat. Too many characters.
Hmm.
Problem to solve. Here's a new character. New baddie. More
There,
characters.
at the start, the first arc that we're covering, that's not really a huge issue.
Except
Once,
for even then, the characters from the first season don't really come back after a while. Some of them do. Like the high school crowd wanted to be characters,
mhm.
and they don't stick around.
Well, I'm just
That,
saying
that
the first arc is kind of well placed with characters. It doesn't
mhm.
feel too bloated, too light. It
By the
feels like
time
what it's supposed to be. An actual living world.
yeah, by the time we finish the second season, yeah, I can agree with people who say I can't keep track of everybody.
Well,
That's fine.
I think the issue here is that it's kind of what happened with Naruto in a sense. You got
Mhm.
all these great characters that you want to spend time with. So when you try and put that in there, it bloats everything
Yeah.
because you have so many interesting characters. Like even characters you generally don't like.
Mhm.
Knowing a little bit more about them is never a bad thing to us.
No, I
Is
mean
a thing.
Naruto and Bleach are both shows that follow the main character.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is, for me personally, Naruto is a show where can we follow anyone besides the main character? Bleach is one where I'm like, yeah, I like following Ichigo. I'd like to spend more time with character X or character Y, but
Mm-hmm.
I like Ichigo. There's rarely a time where I'm going like, God damn it, Ichigo, I wish you would go away. I think it only happens once or twice, and even then, that's how you're supposed to feel. He's supposed to be in a situation where you're along the lines of, my God, you could be dumb at times.
Yeah, that.
And
Yeah, I.
that's the difference. When a character is designed to do a stupid thing because it's in character, rather than character is just stupid all the time, it feels like.
Yeah, and you'll see along that even Ichigo is not the world's smartest person. It comes down to character,
He's
which is
he's
odd to say,
a
actually.
pretty good he's a pretty good smart kid. He's a pretty good at school. He's, not the top of his class, but he's nowhere near the bottom.
Yeah.
He's an average student, maybe above average, but he's not in the top five. So that automatically makes him a lot more relatable to me than
Hmm.
characters who are either the bottom of the class or the top of the class. Because generally, the average is the average for a reason.
And honestly, Ichigo kind of fits in with the average in the school. He's not the top student, and he's not at the bottom, as Emma said.
No,
So,
he stands out in many other ways, and where he stands out is where we like him. But
especially by the end of the series.
yeah. So how did you get into Bleach?
Well, actually, it was through Zombie Powder, actually. Because
Really?
I used to buy Shonen Jump.
Hmm.
Because if you ever heard of this really old fashioned place called Blockbuster,
Yes.
they used to sell Shonen Jump on my old work way back, like,
Hmm.
I don't even
Didn't
want to say
know.
how many years ago because now I just feel really old.
Hmm.
And in there was the first issues, one issue of Zombie Powder. Got the next one was issue two, and so on and so forth. And then it got Bleach in there. And I just kept going and going, and then eventually just kept going with the series. Because I recognized the name, and they made the announcement. The next work from this guy is Bleach, and there you have it. Just that simple.
Makes sense to me. Uh, I got in through, well, a lot of people got through Bleach and whatnot through the TV program. I don't remember what it was. But I didn't have Teletoon, not Teletoon. Anyway, it came to me through the TV channel YTV, which was pretty much my only cartoon channel for most of my entire life. And they had a block called Bionics.
Hmm.
And this is where they aired things like Bleach, Death Note, Naruto, Gundam Seed. So I got into it because I was in the middle of watching, I think it was Gundam Seed at the time. And
Ah.
Bleach either came on before or after. And I'm like, well, I might as well watch something before my giant robots come on. And I watched the first episode of Bleach from there. And I got it through the anime dub. And yeah, I was hooked since. I didn't actually watch Bleach religiously when it came on. foolishly was watching Gundam Seed religiously because I was that desperate for a mecha fix. I took Gundam Seed. Just as a head note, I did not take Gundam Seed Destiny. I would watch it in the background, but it was not something I'm on lines of, oh boy, 10:30, better put on Gundam Seed.
Yeah, I
No,
just got to Destiny. Then I was like,
it was more along the lines of I watched the end of Seed in the background. Literally, I mean, literally in the background. I was sitting in the old computer room my parents had with the TV, this old CRTV behind me in the background with Gundam Seed noises in the background. I'm just like tapping away, tappa, tappa, tappa. Look over. Oh, okay. Oh, hey, up next Bleach. Okay, well, y'all watch that. So through Bionics that I got into Naruto, Bleach, and Death Note. And of those three, I didn't finish Death Note because after a certain character died in Death Note, I was done. I didn't finish Naruto because after a certain point, I was like, "Am I actually enjoying this? Yeah, I'm enjoying this. I just I need a break." That's the thing with Naruto. I was forcing myself to watch it for a while, and once I finally had a good access to the manga, I just speed read the manga until I reached the point where I'm like, done. But Bleach, I always tried to watch. I would miss Bleach every now and then because
shit
life
happens.
find yeah, life finds a way. But Bleach was the one I actually was on lines of, huh, I missed Bleach this week. Oh, that kind of sucks. Hopefully they have a recap next episode. So I was more upset about me missing Bleach. I wasn't on lines of, oh, I got a VCR Bleach. That's right. I still used a VCR to record anime at the time.
I remember doing that for Dragon Ball Z.
I did that for Gundam Wing. I had all of Gundam Wing on so many tapes because Gundam Wing came on at 9:30 and my bedtime was 8:30 when I was a kid. Or no, I think that was when I think 9:30 was when it came on in Ontario time. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
either
Anyway,
or.
I thought I was an hour late. I do remember this was before YTV had Bionics. They had the Mummies Alive, and then it went to Gundam Wing on weekdays. Mummies Alive. So I'd stay up and
Still a
watch
catchy
Mummies
theme.
Live. Oh god, yeah. I'd stay up, watch Mummies Live, then watch Gundam Wing, and then repeat this as a teenager. Luckily, Bleach came on. Bionics was a weekend block, TV block, so it was on Fridays and Saturdays. So I could stay up a little bit later because as a teenager, no teenager wants to get up bright and early to watch Saturday morning cartoons. You want to stay up late and watch Saturday evening cartoons.
Okay, so that's pretty much how we got into it. Anything else we
Mhm.
can give for the show until we go into our next subject?
Um, Despite what a lot of people think, I don't really find the first theme song to Bleach super nostalgic. I liked it, but I don't really care for it. Like, I don't come back to listen to that one. Other Bleach theme songs I will do so, but the first one, which people consider to be the best, is just okay, in my opinion.
Eh. All right,
The
so
visuals to it are still good, though.
yeah, so basically we'll get into the characters because the characters kind of lead into the whole story.
Mhm.
So we'll be starting with the main character, Ichigo Kurosaki.
You guess who he is, boys and girls?
Now
And
remember,
those in between?
he's the main character. Now if you said the
Yeah,
guy getting kicked, you'd be wrong.
yeah. This is the scene that made me go from, this kid seems all right, too. I like this kid. Because, well, the guy on the left reminds me of a lot of people in my town I do not personally like.
Why are you
We
wearing
refer
camo pants anyway?
because he's trying to make sure his legs disappear.
What
My
legs? All I see
question
is
is,
pants.
my question is, why is he wearing a toque in what must be like spring? Isn't that hot? And I always question people, even around here, who wear toques all year round. I'm like, that's too hot.
Maybe he doesn't have any hair.
There are better hats than that for staying on your head.
But I gotta say, that is a hell of a kick from Ichigo. He's not even
Oh my,
t- tilting.
nope. This image alone tells you a lot about Ichigo. First, dude is strong for a high schooler. As clearly a full-grown adult, he's kicking. He's got no. He's so nonchalant with this kick. Like, look at his face. He's just like, this is just Tuesday for Ichigo.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And when you find out why he's kicking the crap out of as my housemate would say, Skeety McSkeet face.
Ah,
You
perfect.
end up you end up liking Ichigo even more.
Now, before we go into why he's literally kicking this man in the face,
Yeah. Ichigo Kurosaki, age 15. Soph it's a sophomore for first year students or freshman?
freshman I think is when your
Okay,
first day
and
because that's fresh.
yeah,
Sophomore's middle,
yeah.
and then
So he's a freshman in Karakura Town High School. Yeah, and the thing is, in a lot of animes and mangas, the character's unique hair color is never brought up. Ichigo's bright orange hair actually is kind of brought up every now and then. It's not the normal in his world. He's considered a punk delinquent for having non-Japanese colored hair. That's
that
just his net.
that
He's got
is
that.
a Japanese thing. It was
It's
basically
just
it's a
it,
stereotype of a teenager rebelling against their parents. They dye their hair blonde.
or usually blonde or some bright colors.
Yeah,
That's why if you've watched Dragon Ball, Chi Chi goes on about making the Super Saiyans being delinquents, and as a kid, I didn't understand that,
I
but I
didn't
found
understand it
out,
at first either.
yeah, and now I understand it. I'm on lines of okay, that's just old world mindset of you got to be rigid and fit into Japanese society.
Hmm.
Ichigo is not dyeing his hair. That's the color of hair he got from his mother. And as a mother's boy, he's not going to do that. He's not going to touch his mother, the hair color he got from his beloved mother.
Yeah, we'll get to that later, folks.
Yeah, yeah, we will. But like I said, Ichigo's character is very well expressed in a very few short scenes. He is no nonsense. He doesn't want to buck the system too much, but he won't change something about it himself for other people's convenience.
Hmm. The other thing,
He's Ichigo Kurosaki. You take Ichigo Kurosaki as he is, or you don't take him at all.
yeah, he is not. He's not gonna come up with some grand scheme. He's not like L from Death Note.
He's
He's
he's not even Naruto wanting to change the system so he fits in better.
he's
No,
for the most part, generally, he's got no problem with any system at the start.
he's pretty chill for a high school kid. Like he should be a lot more angsty than he is.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah,
And the other thing is, you'll learn later on about him that he is literally the perfect definition of a defender.
yeah. Ichigo in Japanese is a name that has many meanings. It can actually translate to 15. Ichi, 1, go, 5, 15. It can translate to one who defends or protects. That's how he translates his name. It
Hmm.
also translates to strawberry. He hates that because technically his hair color is strawberry blonde.
uh, I don't
I'll
get
get to later.
how did strawberry blonde come because I never got that one.
Strawberry blonde is a shade of blonde and that's between blonde and redhead. It's the in between.
I never see it, but I'm
A lot of people who are from Irish descent tend to have strawberry blonde hair.
fair enough.
Some people refer to it as also ginger, but ginger is usually a darker red, like a copper red.
Yeah, I'd say I just usually any people that say they have strawberry blonde hair, like I don't see the red. I
Oh
just
goodness
see the
gracious!
blonde.
People always often I look at people like that person has black hair. No, they have brown hair, but it looks black to me. So I'm wrong about colors too all the
I've
time.
been in that same boat too. So
Yeah. So if someone tells me that their hair color is this, much like if someone tells me what their name is or what their gender is, I go, well, it's your hair. You know it better than I do.
yeah. So the reason that he's kicking Mister, how did your friend put it?
You need McSkeet face.
Yes, that man in the face is because of this cute little girl. Now, M, looking at this picture, what's the first thing you notice about her?
Girl.
What was that? You kind
Sorry,
of broke up there.
sorry, that was a Simpsons reference, but it's comic book guy going girl instead of ghost. So thank you for having me explain the joke. The Joker is now knocking on your door.
Well, I'm sorry, but you broke up. I couldn't hear what you said.
It was my stammering that probably broke up.
Yeah, I could. I literally couldn't hear you. That's why I was
Oh,
asking.
well, I'm sorry, but yes, this is a little ghost girl. Ichigo is defending her because when someone usually dies in a very tragic and a quick way, people leave memorials, flowers, teddy bears, a plaque or something before it's made official. So This girl died on the street. Her friends and family left a vase of flowers, and the guy getting kicked in the face, he and his friends kicked it over for a larf.
I think they were like skateboarding by and just knocked it over also
Yeah,
or something.
they did not care. Like if you knocked over what was clearly a memorial flower, what your reaction be?
Pick it up.
Yeah, you'd pick it up, maybe put water back in if there was water in the vase, or if you broke it, you'd go and replace it.
Hmm.
These guys are like, dude, that was awesome, and skateboard off. Ichigo saw that, and he can see the little ghost girl.
Oh, what's that? We forgot to mention he can see ghosts. Whoops.
Yeah, he can see ghosts, and
Yeah,
his
that's not a
response
trait
is
that everybody can see. He
no.
specifically mentions that he can.
Yeah, he thinks it's because he comes from a family of doctors, so he can see the living and the dead, and he thinks it's an important thing to do to take care of both because both have emotions and feelings. You jackass! So you apologize to this little girl
That you can't
because
see.
but because he's so intimidating, they do apologize and they do fix the mess they make. And then when they run off scared, he apologized to the little girl about them being jerks because that's just his nature. He's a nice kid. He saw someone upset and disrespected, and he's like, "Oh hell no!"
Hmm.
And that just makes me like Ichigo more. He has a big heart, and
So,
his. So we'll talk about ghosts now.
so this is a little later in the show, but there's an important thing you should notice with this picture. All ghosts, which are called plus in the anime and the
Manga, I think, calls them holes.
well, I'm talking about the ghosts themselves are called.
Yeah, they're called pluses or holes.
Yes. Now you might notice
Yeah,
there's a little odd thing connected to his chest right there. All ghosts have those. It's kind of like
yep.
a life chain, as I put it.
Yeah, it's basically you are chained down to a location,
Generally, if you're just knocked out of your body, your chain's still connected to your body. You can go back into it.
which is usually described as how out-of-body experiences work,
Hmm.
which makes sense
If
in
you're
this universe.
dead, that chain is broken,
Yeah, the chain itself can be reattached to a new location, which leads to poltergeists or hauntings to that location.
which we'll get into later.
Yeah, the thing is, that's not what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to let go when you die. You're supposed to unchain yourself from your body and your location and ascend on to what will be the afterlife. We'll talk about that later.
Hmm.
That's how ghosts are supposed to go. But sometimes people tend to linger on for various reasons. You want one more chance to see your family, one more chance to see someone you love, one more chance to laugh at something,
Or you're just
or
a
you,
dick.
or you're just a dick. Later on, we find out a serial killer wanted to stay on because he wasn't done murdering.
Yeah, that was the one with Chad, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the Chad story. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
It's a good story.
So, after helping the ghost friend, and later that night, something new decides to pop up at Ichigo's house.
This is the main monsters of the series.
They're called Hollows, which we will discuss later in the show. Don't worry, folks. We're just
Yeah,
kind of covering the main characters now, but this is part of his story, so.
yeah. These things eat the pluses or holes. So when you linger too long, you basically make yourself into a nice morsel for those monsters. And because hollows themselves are also supernatural, they can't be seen,
And
but
the
they can be felt. They can damage things around them,
mm-hmm.
which in the first few episodes it could be easily described as, oh, that was a guy having a car accident, or oh, hey, that building just kind of collapsed in on itself.
To
You
be
know,
fair,
like,
this is also the first one Ichigo's ever seen.
I do question that, but there are probably explanations for that are
Well,
on down the
this
road.
was, like I said, we'll explain that more with later characters.
Mhm.
But I'm just saying this is the first one that you as a character, Ichigo, has, that we know of, has seen. I don't want
Yeah,
to
it's the first
specific.
one. It's the first monster he knows is a monster that's coming after him. He's like, "What the heck is this thing?" And it is it. Almost kills his entire family.
Mm-hmm. Because I know it was targeting his two sisters.
We'll talk about them shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His dad was not there, I don't believe.
No, I mean his dad is a doctor. He could have been at another clinic helping out. That's a
Hmm.
very common thing.
I'm just saying. I
Uh,
just believe. I'm just trying to also go off my memory. So
yeah, yeah,
some minor details might not be there, but the overall
yeah.
arc is in my head.
But it nearly destroys his entire house, and it almost kills his sister. In the manga and the anime, there's a difference on which sister it grabs. But regardless, his younger sisters are almost killed by this
Hmm.
thing, and his entire life changes from this point.
And it's all thanks to one Soul Reaper or a Shinigami, depending upon how you say it. I've gone back and forth with it. So
I kind of prefer Soul Reaper because these do not work like God's Death in most other iterations, and
no, but
it's
Shinigami
how
also loosely translates the Soul Reaper depending upon where you are. I've seen and
Mhm,
heard both ways so many times. I flip flop. I don't just
mhm, mhm.
without me realizing it.
And if you prefer Shinigami, no, that's totally fine. If you prefer Soul Reaper, you're in my camp. But I don't want to go along the lines of correcting anybody because as long as both sides of the conversation know what we're talking about, who cares?
Yeah, but essentially, a Soul Reaper is someone that helps people pass on or deal with hollows.
They're ghost police in a sense.
Yes.
They
Now,
themselves are also ghosts,
they
and
get
this
a
is the
much
first.
bigger role in Arc 2. So we'll discuss more
And
about them in Arc 2, but we'll get the
yeah,
finer details
yeah.
as we
The
go.
first arc is referred to as either the Death of the Strawberry arc, which I hate that name for the manga, or the Substitute Soul Reaper arc, or the Age of the Soul Society arc, depending on which translation you go for and which DVDs and whatnot you go for.
I will say I do like
Because
that last one.
yeah, so why does this girl's sword matter so much? Well, she's injured by the Hollow,
Mm-hmm.
trying to defeat it. So badly injured she cannot fight and she cannot barely move. She has one option to entrust her powers to the only person who can see the Hollow, Ichigo.
And the way she's going to do that is that she's going to kill him with that sword.
Yep, first time you meet a girl, penetration might happen,
But no, literally her sword is what's called a Zanpakuto. Now,
which has various translations, but we can get to those much more in the
mhm.
next season.
Now this is pretty much a Soul Reaper's main weapon. We learn more about these as the series goes on, and there's so much more to these as it is. Some you agree with, some you don't, but the main point is that this is the item that allows a Soul Reaper to deal with hollows.
Mm-hmm. The blade itself can slay the Hollows, and on the handle at the very end is a special means of sending the holes onto where they must go.
Mm-hmm. Now, when Rukia, which is the name of the Reaper on screen, stabs Ichigo to transfer her powers, he takes all of her power.
You intended on lending him like just enough to fight this Hollow, then it would go away. No, he takes so much. You can go to the next image.
Oh
Goes
yeah,
from a dinky little katana to that massive honking thing, which he uses to basically one shot
yeah.
enemy Hollow.
Most Zanpakutos in what is called their sealed form, more details later, are about the size of a regular katana.
Usually proportionally sized to their owner. Like
Mm-hmm.
Rukia, as she's a shorter lady, has a katana that's sized to her rather than sized to, say, someone much
But
taller
their
than her.
average is a regular katana for most people.
Mm-hmm.
Ichigo's is freaking massive. It's
It's
more
the
of
size
a
of him.
it's more of a
Claymore.
claymore. I want to say katana because it's still a
It's a
single edged.
it's a Claymore Zweihander katana fusion.
Yeah,
It still has this general shape of a katana. It's sharp on only one side, but it's not curved. And it basically what happens if you flattened a katana out and then just kept 10% bigger, 10% bigger, 10% bigger, 10% bigger. There we go.
and he wields this thing like it's light as a feather, so that's not
Yeah,
really an issue.
most times he does not two hand this thing.
He doesn't really start two handing it unless he really has to.
Yeah, and he doesn't have to most times.
No,
So yeah, he went from normal high school boy who could see the dead to now it's his job to defend the dead and defend the living from these hollow monsters.
Until
And that's,
Rukia gets her powers back and go back to do whatever she was doing. He go back to normal school life.
yeah, she was assigned by her superiors to guard this town, which you find out later that each area is assigned a Reaper, and they rotate Reapers in and out.
Yeah, we'll get on to the question about that shortly.
Yeah, we have problems with that.
So, now we can talk about Ichigo's family. This is
Each
Masaki.
his dearly departed mother, the matron of the family, the glue that held the family together, and the giant poster of memorial that the family put up. And by family, we mean Captain Wacky, aka Papa Ishin
Now, from what we
Kurosaki.
know of her in the early start, so we'll talk about more about her later as the series goes on.
Mhm.
She was quite dearly a loving mother, a lovely wife, and literally just the family was almost what you could say is just the standard household family of just a
Mom,
family.
dad, three kids, and very well adjusted family from the sounds of things. Ishin apparently was always kind of on the goofy side, but that's not that out of the normal for a goofy dad. In fact, that led to a wonderful Disney cartoon. Wait, no, that's different kind of goofy.
But there's nothing wrong with him being goofy because he still clearly cares about his family.
He's also a doctor who the family lives in a clinic. It's called Kurosaki Clinic. It's the family lives upstairs. There's a small local town hospital like clinic in the downstairs. Ishin is a well-respected doctor.
I,
So yeah,
I honestly at first I thought it was just a pediatrician. I really would explain some of his
I
goofiness, but
he might be a pediatrician. I don't know what his specialization is. I just know he's a respected enough doctor, and his clinic is respected enough that if the hospital nearby is overflown, they will send patients to him to take care of.
mm-hmm.
And it's a family clinic. There's no other staff besides the family. Everyone in the family, Ichigo, Masaki, uh, Kishin, and the two daughters, Kari and Yuzu, are all pitching into that clinic. There are several times you see the twins doing basic nurse stuff, even though they're not even in junior high. They know first aid and basic medical stuff enough to be along the lines of, yeah, they can help dress a wound and take care of people and give bedside manner, while Ishin does the heavy lifting of the hospital side.
Mm-hmm.
We never see it, but it's heavily implied that Ichigo himself can help with that stuff.
Doesn't surprise me.
I mean, even if he's just an extra body to help move patients who can't move themselves, he's probably trained enough just to do that. I would be terribly surprised if he does not have his first aid training and doesn't know how to like move someone who's in a seizure or something. I don't expect him to be on the lines of, all right, I can patch up this wound. I can see him on the lines of, okay, roll this guy over so he doesn't choke on his tongue.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Yep. Good.
yeah. Here's the family. Like this is
Yep.
generally, you can go back. This is Ishin on the right, Yuzu in the middle, and Karin on the left.
You might notice something that two of them really started to get into this.
Yeah, I like to refer to Ishin as Captain Wacky, and everyone knows. And if you know why I refer to him as Captain Wacky, then you watch as much Simpsons as I have. Only difference is he's a really good father in a sense. Like he adores his three children.
Mm-hmm.
The very idea of someone hurting these kids, no. But Yuzu, she's the sweet, adorable one. After Mama died when she was, I believe, 5, she tried to pitch in and take the role of the mom of the family. She does
Mm-hmm.
the cooking and the cleaning. She's self-taught in this. And Kari, she didn't have any real skill. She didn't follow mom around to learn the basics. So she basically became the family's straight man, I want to say, for lack of better terms.
Well,
She's
somebody had to be because Ichigo's
Yeah,
dealing with a lot of shit. And at one point, he's going to go to
yeah.
college and shit like that. But he's
So
got a couple more years to deal with this shit.
essentially, when the mom died, Ishin basically made himself constant sunshine and wackiness to keep his family happy. Ichigo became cold and the protector of his family by nature. He leaned into the one who protects. Yuzu became the matriarch of the family, the cooking, the cleaning, and Karin decided, I can't really do any of this stuff. I'm going to never bother my family. She vowed to never cry, to never worry the family, to be self-dependent. So if something goes wrong, okay, Karin's already taken care of herself. We don't need to drop everything and worry about her. We can just worry about this problem.
Mm-hmm.
And for a 5-year-old, that is very mature and very sad.
And that's not an unusual dynamic for someone that's lost a
No,
family member.
I mean, it's also very sad that Yuzu decided to take over the cooking and the cleaning and still does as a young teenager. These two are preteens at this point, and they are still doing these things. They are still grieving the loss of their mother. They can barely remember their mother. Ichigo has a great memory of his mother, and it's a single dad running a clinic trying to take care of 3 kids who are each characters. They each have a strong emotion, and you can remember them pretty well, even
Mm-hmm.
though, sadly enough, the twins are rarely in later seasons. Even though I find them quite fascinating because of how close they should be to Ichigo, they should be more important.
Mm.
Ishin does show up later on for other things. His character is very well developed. We find out more about him. But in the first season, like I said, he's Captain Wacky. He laments that he can't see ghosts. He laments that he cannot help his family. The other thing about Karine is she also can see ghosts. Not that she believes in ghosts.
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic for you.
Ghosts will follow her home because they notice that she can see her, and she will say, "Don't even look at the ghost. Ghosts aren't real." And
Yuzu, I can see them, but not any distinct detail.
they're like a blurry outline to her.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes not. It's very weird what she can connect. She's jealous of her siblings, and she worships the ground her big brother walks on because. And that tends to be one with siblings that are younger. You either worship your older sibling or you hate their very guts.
It's either I worship you as a god or we're going to war.
Yeah, I can definitely say I was the second one.
Same.
As an adult now I greatly respect my older sister, and I'm greatly delighted to have her as family.
Nope, we're still going to war on my end.
Now, it sounds like my sister and I matured. Not sure about your end.
Well,
So, let's get on to the next topic.
so Rukia then explains about hollows to Ichigo. She does this through her drawings.
Aren't they lovely?
The first problem with her drawings,
Oh, yeah, it cut out there for a second there.
the first thing with her is that everything is bunny or was what she calls Chappie. I think that's a character in the show.
Yeah, it's a character. It's a show within a show kind of thing.
Yeah, and everything that she draws is pretty much bunny related. It does not help later on.
But I think they're great.
And don't ever insult her drawings. She's very proud of them.
Mm-hmm.
But she,
Like Rukia comes across as high and mighty, stuffy at times, knowing all she is, and then immediately cuts to her with these doodles, and she takes them as seriously as well. She just takes them very seriously.
mm-hmm, a little too seriously at times.
Yeah,
Especially when she's training Ichigo and with the baseball machine, and she draws pictures on them of a head and a hand, so that Ichigo learned to hit the hollow in the head. But the head on the baseball still looks like the goddamn hand, so it's not helping the situation.
forgot about that part. Oh my lord.
And here she is when she first meets Ichigo, still trying to explain it, and those pictures are not helping at all.
Yeah, Ichigo's on the floor because she kind of insulted her, so she used basically Reaper magic to pin him down, and then she sat down and started to explain things to him, and he's like, "Yeah." She asked basically, "Do you have any questions about how souls work?" And the only question is, "Yeah, why do your drawings suck so much?"
And here's the other thing: she is a very diminutive person. She is not.
No,
We'll get to that, but if you look to what she's sitting next to, that is her katana. Now remember how big Ichigo's was when he had his katana. That shows you the
woo,
size difference.
yep. But this is also one of the strong parts about Kubo's work, in my opinion, is his facial work is amazing.
Like you can tell the disdain in her face.
You know what she's thinking of. She's
Like,
thinking of,
like I know it's all cartoonish and all, but you could just feel that. It's like,
yeah,
what?
yeah. I love Kubo's way he handles faces. I can't. I never get tired of it.
He
When he
fights
goes,
that good balance between a standard face and when you should be slightly cartoonish about to get an emotion across.
or
He knows the
when
balance.
someone goes completely insane. This is a character from many seasons later, but I fucking love Grim Joe's mad laugh at one point.
But yeah, he knows the proper balance.
Yes. Another thing about Kubo is he knows how to do a very serious thing and then immediately go humor without being on lines of snap your neck whiplash of serious and then humor. More
Yeah,
on lines of
we got proof of that later on.
yeah, more on lines of when you stop and think about this scene, it actually is kind of silly.
But the reason Ruki even found Ichigo's place is because Ichigo has a large amount of what they call retsu or spiritual pressure.
Ryatsu, or spiritual pressure is referred to in the dub,
Yeah,
which we'll just refer to as their power level for
yeah,
sake of
energy.
that's
Really, it's
yeah.
in fact
He
it was
is
so great that when she got to him, he pretty much blocked out her ability to sense the hollow.
yep. He was so huge. This minor threat hollow basically was invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how a highly skilled warrior was knocked aside by a pretty low tier hollow. We find out later on. Like we expect Ruki to be pretty weak, but when you actually get to see her fight at her full power,
Well, I think that was
she's
also she was caught off guard. She's also still technically a newbie for being in the human world.
yeah, when she's in her element, she's good.
Mm-hmm. So then we'll go on to she's now in what's called a Gigai, which we'll explain more details later where she got it from.
Yeah,
And
now that she's lost her powers, like I said, she intended to just lend Ichigo just a bit, just a little bit,
yeah,
just enough to kill.
but when
But she
Ichigo
lost.
took all the power, they were unable to transfer it back.
Yeah, he couldn't just repeat what she did because it's not exactly something easy to do.
Plus, I don't think she fully expected it to work out the way it did. And again, this is one of those things that later on you find out that there are other reasons for it as well.
Plus, she only is going to stab Ichigo with a tiny sword. Ichigo is going to stab her with his sword. His sword's already bigger than she is. I don't think she'd have a torso if he did.
I would say so, but I don't think it's appropriate, so I'll just keep it to myself.
Really, because there's going to be a lot more jokes that you're going to try and resist with how Rukia handles things. But yeah, she's forced now to take a fake physical body and hide in the real world to assist Ichigo until her powers restore. And Ichigo basically has to do her job so she doesn't get in any trouble for
Yeah,
monsters running
she's
around.
basically faking doing work and having Ichigo do the dangerous stuff.
Yeah, while she explains things to him while she's waiting for her powers to come back. She and him do not like this arrangement first. Ichigo goes along with it because he realizes, shit, I took your powers. I'm sorry. I know I gotta do this, but man, do I hate this. And she's on the lines of, I hate someone else doing my job. I'm the one who's supposed to be doing this. You need to take this more seriously until I can take this more
Well, you
seriously.
know, there might be another reason why that Ichigo doesn't like this arrangement.
Oh? He hides in the closet. She lives there. She puts a mattress in there. Now, you have to remember, she does this while she's in her fake body. It's not like she leaves her fake body somewhere else and lives in this closet at night and most of his family can't see her. No, no. She does it so that all the family can see. And they do their best to keep this hidden.
And there are reasons why this works out the way it does.
Well, one thing, she's so tiny.
Well, I'll tell you what, how the family doesn't notice this.
Mm.
I I don't even know how Yuzu or Karen didn't notice this one. The dad, you understand later on why he didn't notice anything.
Well, because he's more busy trying to kick Ichigo. Yeah, that's a topic we should have brought up.
That's a running gag. His father, Ishin, wakes him up every morning
Morning, Ichigo!
by
Drop kick
trying to
through the
drop kick
window.
him. Most
Or
of
if
the time, Ichigo
Ichigo,
just dodges and Ishin goes out the window.
yeah, or if Ichigo enters the kitchen with his guards slightly down, Ishin will try and surprise spin kick him, only for Ichigo to knock him unconscious. Ishin takes this on lines of,
He takes
you
better
know,
lessons from Spinzaku.
yeah, he does. Ishin just doing this with the lines of, I want my son to be nice and strong and ready to take on the world. If he can defeat his old man, he can defeat the world. And Ichigo constantly hands him his ass. And Ishin basically says, aha, you should really finish the job. Grapple me and come on, son, let's wrestle.
But yes, back on topic with the picture. If you
Yeah,
might notice in this picture and the previous one, Rukia is on the phone. That is how she gets her orders about where hollows are appearing.
I miss flip phones.
I don't.
I'm not. I don't like smartphones. I don't feel them comfortable in my hand.
But she essentially gets orders from text or a phone call about where hollows are appearing. She answers and pretty much says that
Yeah,
she's going and then takes Ichigo with him by force.
yeah. She can generally sense the hollow themselves. The phone is basically giving her a lot of lines of, okay, you sense a hollow. It's on 39th Street. Okay, I felt it was in the east area. So rather than have her run around all the east until she gets close enough to find out where she is, she can go, oh, 33rd Street. I know the fastest way to get there.
Plus,
Just
that detection apparently covers the entire city, so there you
yeah,
have it.
she has a good sense of direction, good sense of where the hollow is. The phone is basically along the lines of, hey, this is helping me. Just narrow things down. And it also lets her, well, she can sense all the things going around, but sometimes it's hard to pinpoint something. So with the computerized equipment upstairs and the heavens can go like, yeah, this is definitely a hollow. She can go, okay, hollow fighting time.
Plus, having a good line
Each,
of communication with the boss is generally a good idea.
yeah,
So, let's carry on. Rukia has no idea of anything about the human world.
understands the most basics of basics.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, unfortunately for Ichigo, not enough. I couldn't find a good image of this, but she, much like the Norse god Thor from the Marvel series, doesn't understand human food and drink. She is amazed by the straw that pops into a juice box.
now,
Now, to be fair, if you've never seen one of those before, that's actually pretty clever. But unfortunately, her job is to protect the human world. Now, she didn't ever actually need a Giga. She never actually needed to blend in, but
when you
I'm sorry.
understand nothing about what you're protecting, there are issues that are going to arise.
Yeah, you're gonna not care about the place as much as you should, probably. You're gonna be probably distracted by the shiny baubles all around. She's
Not to mention,
basically,
I have questions what they do with a hollow attack the plane.
oh my god.
Like, has this never come up? I mean, we've been flying for quite a while.
Like, she's not amazed by cars, so she at least understands that part of human society. So she would know not to, like, disrupt stuff like that. But still, it feels really strange. Now, they don't play up the fish out of water story too much. It's just enough to make you go along lines of, oi, upstairs could really use to update their textbooks.
And this is another thing I think that was done intentionally to kind of make you start questioning things,
Yeah.
especially Rukia's connection to the higher forces, as it were.
Yeah, she sings the praises of them. There's nothing wrong with the Soul Society, even though she herself should immediately bring up problems with the Soul Society from her own backstory. That's for season two.
Yeah,
But
Ichigo kind of helps her start questioning things, as it were.
mhm, he helped him understand how his new job works. He helps her blend in and understand the living world so much. And in fact, she makes great friends with some of Ichigo's classmates. She
Hmm.
hits off a lot of the girls. She comes across to them as eccentric and weird, but because of Ichigo and Rukia's actual generally nice personality, she fits in. Even though she's several hundred years old, she fits in like
Yeah,
a normal high school
she's
girl.
haughty, but she's not rude. If that
Yeah,
makes any sort of sense.
she's she's noble with some down to earth qualities. The
Hmm.
best of both worlds, in my opinion. She's not too much in one direction, too much in the other
She
direction.
kind of she sees her work as very important, and her people that she supports as
Mhm.
unfallible at the start, but she
Yeah,
doesn't really look down at the people she's supposed to protect.
no, she sees it as a very important job to do. She does. She takes this job really seriously, and when we meet other Soul Reapers, we find out a lot of them do not.
And a few of them are just more eccentric in other ways.
Yes,
Really eccentric.
Yeah. But we've talked about a little bit of Ichigo's friends. We should really discuss one of the main ones who unfortunately gets shafted in later seasons. This is Chad, or I actually forget his original Japanese name, but Ichigo could not pronounce his name originally, so he called the man Chad. And Chad just went along with it because it's a nickname. I like it.
Yeah, plus it's like I it could take a while to get you to pronounce my name properly. Let's just work with it.
Yeah. It's a pretty common thing because Chad is half Mexican, half Japanese. And a lot of people who come from a foreign area with a foreign sounding name will take a localized nickname. We do it in North America a lot to people. If your name sounds like something, we'll go with that. And the reverse happens in the different nations. Like I know people who've gone to teach in Japan with a very Western sounding name, one with a very Japanese sounding nickname for the sake of convenience for their students and convenience for their workers.
Mm-hmm.
And this can be kind of disrespectful, but it really depends. It's more case by case. Most people I know who get the nickname along the lines of, this makes your life easier and you're not mispronouncing my name every 5 minutes. And as someone who gets mispronounced his name all the time by people, yeah, that's why I refer people referring to me as M. It's a lot harder to screw that up than calling me every other long M name.
As you say, E.
Eh.
But first thing you'll notice about Chad is that he is a very huge person.
Yeah, even though he's in the foreground right here, uh, Chad is a gentle giant kind of character.
He's usually at least a head taller than everybody else in the series.
Yeah, and this is him and Ichigo in junior high.
Yeah,
Like this is last year junior high
like
school.
he's usually about even in junior high, he's usually about the size of most adults in the show.
if not taller.
Yeah, give or take, depending. But
Yeah. Regardless, what happens when you're? Well, we already discussed how Ichigo's orange hair doesn't blend in and makes him a automatic delinquent. How do you think the Japanese students felt about a guy who's half Japanese and looks very different?
I can't imagine that going well.
Yeah, poor Chad is heavily bullied, but since he's a gentle giant, he won't ever fight back.
Yeah, his abuela, which is Spanish for grandfather,
I believe so. Yes.
instilled some very good principles into the kid.
Yeah, when Chad was a little kid living in Mexico, he beat the crap out of everyone around him because he was bigger and stronger. Why don't I use this power? Until his grandfather basically beat him up once, going like, "How do you like it? You're big, Chad. You should use your powers responsibly. Never, ever beat someone else up just because you're bigger than them. Violence is never the answer. I've kicked your ass once to teach you this lesson, and I'm never doing it again." And I can respect that because apparently Chad was a little monster as a child. This was due to he was born in Japan, his parents died, and he was sent to the only living relative he had, which was his grandfather in Mexico. So yeah, that would disturb a kid, especially if he's bigger. He's the foreign kid. He's going to start bullying. His grandfather did the right thing, straightened this boy out. So Chad wears a necklace in memorial of his grandfather because, unfortunately for Chad, his only living family died, so he moved back to Japan.
Why?
Don't know.
I don't know.
And he now lives alone because the way Japanese laws were, it's different there. I don't really understand it myself. I don't want to get into that kettle of fish.
It's an
But
anime. We'll go with that.
because of this, Chad is now he turns into a G. He, you could punch him all day long, he will not respond. Until one day, people found out he wears this necklace. It's a very expensive looking necklace. I believe it's a Mexican dollar. I don't know for sure. I know it's Mexican, so it's the last thing his grandfather gave him. It's his most treasured possession in the whole wide world. Some punks beat him up, tied him up, and was about to take it and either sell it or destroy it. And then Ichigo sees this while walking home from school one day and just drop kicks and beats the crap out of him. He almost gets his ass handed him. He basically gets the necklace back. He's beaten and bloodied, and he hands it back to Chad, going like, "Here, this belongs to you. I know it's important to you." And Chad just looks at him completely confused, like, "Why would you do that? We've spoken maybe once in school." And he's like, "It mattered to you. Why shouldn't I have done it?"
And thus
And then,
sparks a friendship that will last.
yep. Ichigo listens to Chad's explanation of his grandfather told him to never fight and never do something, never beat people up for your own sake. And Ichigo looks, "Oh, that's a pretty good life lesson. How about you beat up the people beating up me, and I'll beat up the people beating up you?"
Logic.
And Chad just on the lines of, "Huh? You sure
There
you're not
is
from a family of
logic
lawyers?"
in what you say.
And the two of them basically make a vow of if anything is so important to you that you would give your life to protect, hey man, I'm right behind you swinging my fist to back you up.
Mm-hmm.
And Chad is, well, let's get this out of the way. Whenever someone says Chad or Chad energy on the internet, I think of this character. I think of this wonderfully well written character who I would be on lines of, I wish he was one of my friends.
Indeed.
He doesn't say much. He has a very deep baritone voice. I think you could fit his entire dialogue of the entire anime on one sheet of paper. Maybe he does get chatty for explaining his powers sometimes. That's right, he gets powers.
Yeah, speaking of those, now, it is explained later on in the series how he supposedly got his powers, but that's not important for the moment.
No,
What is
I,
important is that he now has a big arm, well, bigger arm, which is scary enough,
yeah,
that he can kind of shoot, like, beams out of.
he can shoot basically one key blast out of it first.
And, yeah, it's actually very destructive.
Yeah, at first Chad can't see ghosts. He gets attacked by a ghost trying to do the right thing, and because of how big and strong he is, the hollow that's attacking him can't kill him. The hollow dropped a steel girder on Chad when Chad is a normal ass person, and Chad's on the lines of, huh, I appear to be bleeding slightly. Oh well.
And I don't think Chad realized everything that was going on at the start.
No, it doesn't. He doesn't really find out until Rukia knows is okay. Basically, Chad's talking to some of his other friends from a. I think he's part of a band. He plays the bass.
I forgot
More
he
respect,
played an instrument.
more respect for Chad because I love the sound of a good bass. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
wish he'd done more with that, but more on
yeah,
that later.
yeah. He's talking to his bandmates, and they're like, "Hey, we found this cursed parakeet. Anyone who takes care of this parakeet is doomed to die. You want it?" And Chad's like, "Well, that bird could use a good home. Yeah, sure, I'll take it." Yeah, the bird's not cursed. The bird's being attacked constantly by a hollow.
Yeah, the bird is possessed by the spirit of a boy that the hollow
Yeah.
wants to eat.
But no, the hollow took the boy's soul out and said to the little boy, if you can survive 100 days with me chasing you without losing whoever's taking care of you as a parakeet, I'll bring your mom back to life. Hollows can't do that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Forgot he was that big of a
So,
dick.
yeah, the hollow was the soul of a serial killer who just wants to keep ripping and tearing into people. And he's been killing everyone the parakeet's gotten to the homes of because the parakeet can talk human because it's a human soul in a bird. And Chet just wants to take care of this little guy. He wanted to. Honestly, parakeets make good pets.
And Chad just didn't die.
No, he refused to die, and he wasn't even aware what was going on. Rukia, however, sees the ghost, and through her, Chad fights it. Kinda, Chad is strong enough to actually punch the ghost. There's a scene where he's just kind of swinging his arms in the air, and he hits the ghost, but he's unaware he hit it. Just like, I know there's something here, so I'm just gonna keep punching, keep punching, keep punching, keep punching, keep nails the hollow, knocks it on its ass. Rookie's like, can he see it? And he turns around and starts punching completely the wrong direction. Nope, no, he cannot. Which is another good example of the humor of Bleach.
And he generally just after that starts.
Yeah, he can kind of see ghosts later on. Later, Ghost attacks Kari, and he tries to help her because, okay, that's Ichigo's little sister. Still can't see the ghost. And then when she's about to die, his powers wake up, and he beats the ghost. The hollow is like, huh, I can see it now. And it's so slow and weak. This arm feels nice. One shots.
Huh.
It later leads to a funny scene where he's trying to remember how to use his powers. He's basically told, remember what happened the first time it happened. He's like, all right. I was chased by a ghost, and he's protecting Ichigo's little sister. Ichigo's little sister. And he imagines Ichigo with a black wig with this stuff. And he's just like, nope, that's wrong.
There's
That is
also
wrong.
one other detail I just remembered that should be brought up for later in the series when we
Mm.
get there. Chad is left-handed.
Oh, yeah, he is. I forgot that detail.
I only remember because I remember this fight later in the series, but that's for later
Hmm.
because I love that fight for him. It was that kind of fun.
I wish that fight. I wish he had more fun with those fights.
Yeah, but
Anyway,
pretty much we'll go on to Ichigo's next couple of friends.
yeah. The one on the right here is Tatsuki. That's his oldest friend. He's been friends with her since
They
grade,
went to karate lessons together.
like he was 5, and he was a little crybaby back then. And Tatsuki is the heir to a dojo, so she kicks butt, and she protected him from bullies when they were really young. Until
Hmm.
sadly, Ichigo's mom died, and Ichigo went from crybaby to someone who tries to protect people. He basically changed overnight, and Tatsuki knows him pretty much the best. They're old friends. She's basically his best friend and one of the guys, which she is totally fine with.
Hmm. Surprise,
And
surprise. You'd be fine being a tomboy.
yeah, and on the left we have Orchime. She is one of Ichigo's classmates, and much like Ichigo, she has a unique hair color, which she got bullied for. Tatsuki did not like that. So she's
Nope.
basically been Orihime's bodyguard because Orihime lives alone because her parents died,
Her brother
and,
died.
and her brother was the one taking care of her until a few years ago, and he died. And Orihime has the biggest crush on Ichigo.
Indeed.
It's kind of cute.
Her
It,
to be
in
noted, Orihime is a huge airhead.
but she's also the second highest student in her class. She gets the second highest marks.
Well, just because she's an airhead doesn't mean she's stupid.
No, she's a woman who goes by her flights of fancy. She's off in her own world. She pays attention to class. She can answer questions. She can solve problems. But when it comes to just, hey, Orihime, what are you thinking about? I'm thinking about that dream last night I had where I was a giant mecha that shot silly string out of my eyes. What? I drew it.
I
Yeah, she's the only
forgot that was a thing.
she's the only character who likes Rukia's drawings.
Because they're about on the same level with those.
Yeah, Orihime and Rukia end up becoming also BFFs, and it's kind of cute.
Hmm.
I generally like their friendship.
I generally don't have a problem with Orihime. It's just that
She's
she.
not she's not my favorite of the female cast,
No. I like Tatsuki.
but I like Katsuki a little more than her. I like Rukia more than both of them. But generally, I don't have a problem with her. She is the main female character next to Rukia. We see the
Hmm.
most of Orihime, and unlike other anime main character females, I don't feel she's that useless. People tend to compare her to Princess Peach because she gets kidnapped at one point, but eh,
Which we'll
she,
bring up that later on after her brother got.
yeah, her brother ended up dying, and Orihime used to pray to him every day, saying, "I hope you're doing okay. I'm doing the best I can." And then when she got to high school, she stopped praying to him every day. She started talking more about the friends she made, like Tatsuki, and talking about Ichigo from her class and how well she's doing there. And then it was every other week she did this, then maybe once a month. And he has been haunting her. He's been following her around in a complete 100% concern for his baby sister. And all of a sudden, she's not talking to him anymore. He misses that. He
Yep.
wants his sister to miss him. Like, I'm here for you. Why don't you care about me anymore? She's doing this for the reason of I don't want to worry him if he's up in heaven. I want him to look down and go, I'm doing okay with my life now. I'm moving on. I can take care of myself. What you're supposed to do after someone passes. You're supposed to grieve and then move on. The problem with this world, if you're a ghost for too long, not moving on, you start to get corrupted by your negative emotions. He turns into a hollow and tries to kill everyone around her so he can keep his sister.
Yeah, that didn't end well.
Ichigo has to step in and slay the hollow. Now, here's the thing. We also find out that Rukia, not only does she have a fake body, she has a device that can men in black people. Look at the shiny thing. There were no ghosts.
This is
Uh,
also where we learn one other important thing. We've been saying slay the hollow. That is and is not correct, actually.
it's purify the hollow, turning them
Yes.
back into a natural spirit and passing them on. Unless you're that serial killer from the last one who did the chat episode, he went straight the hell where he belonged.
Yes, what it is that in order for a Reaper to purify a hollow, they have to pretty much break their mask with the sword.
Yeah, and then cleanse them of all the evil they've done as a hollow.
That
Evil
doesn't
you've done
absolve you
a
of the evil you've done as in your human life.
no. We get to see hell for like a nanosecond in that episode, and it is glorious. Also, the guy went into hell here on lines of, I think that might have been too good for that motherfucker.
Yeah, but just wanted to get that differential out there.
Yes.
So Orihime, like Chad, gets powers. Hers are a bit more erratic.
Abstract.
Abstract and
Three,
erratic, both good
yeah,
definitions for this.
yeah. From her hair, her two hairpins that are each six pin, each of them are made of six pins of a flower on each side. Each two pins become one of these creatures. Three are used to make a powerful energy shield that can block almost anything. Two are used to heal almost any wound by like reversing time, so OP healing power. And the last is a kind of like a beam shot that's based off her killing intent. She's a sweet, lovable little girl who doesn't want to hurt anybody, so her killing intent is, um,
Zero.
oh, I'm gonna throw this wet tissue paper at you. Nah, that wasn't effective. I wonder why.
Smack.
Yeah, she gets pointed out several times that she cannot fight. Yeah, that's not wrong with it
Yeah, she
because
can put up a shield worth that'll pretty much. It's almost as hard to break as Chad is.
actually it ends up getting like so overpowered shielding, and her healing gets so overpowered too. Like I described it as rewinding time. It basically is rewinding time.
It somewhat gets explained to as rejecting reality.
Yeah, her whenever she activates one of her spells, she basically says "I reject," and whatever she rejects, yeah, that undoes. It's one character describes as nearly touching the face of God.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I understand what they're going for, but at the same time, I kind of like.
Well, we later find out why it's not as powerful. It has the potentially super powerful, but it's based off her own internal strength and her own internal emotions. So if she's
Mhm.
not strong enough, Ryatsu wise or power level wise, she can't do this. Or if she doesn't have the drive to, like if she's in too much shock of someone being hurt, she can't heal them properly because all she can do is, oh my god, they're done. Oh my god, they're done. God, they're done. But if she can be along the lines of, okay, here, you have your arm back. They have their arm back. It's
Yeah,
also not instantaneous too, so it's a slower process. So it does leave her open to attacks. So it's not overpowered as all
yeah,
get out. It's pretty interesting, and I like it for a healer. I like that she does have a means to defend herself, and if she is determined enough, she can slay a hollow. That's about all it's good for, though. Slaying weak hollows. But can you slay a weak hollow?
yes,
Can you do it easily?
no,
Can you do it from range?
technically,
Well, then can you do it easily from range?
no.
Well, there you go. She's better than you.
So this is now Ichigo's daily life.
Yeah, despite the fact if after the first time Ichigo rescues Orihime, she can still see. She starts gaining the ability to see hollows, and then she gets her powers from another hollow type later on.
Mm-hmm.
But she acts like the device worked on her, that she can't remember Ichigo saving her, but she remembers it. She remembers everything that's going on, and she can see it, and everyone else in Ichigo's class cannot see it. So Ichigo now spends his every day trying to fight hollows best he can,
Mm-hmm. And
and
he
it's
pretty much just pops out of his body, goes to fight the Hollow, and pops back in as quickly as he can.
mhm,
And this continues on for, I want to say about another week before the other character shows up.
yeah, about that, yeah.
And the next character is, how do you say his name? Because I always say this wrong.
Uryu Ishida.
Ishida. That was it.
Hmm. He
This is what
is,
is known as a Quincy.
yeah, humans who developed powers to slay hollows. And when we say slay hollows, we don't mean cleanse them, we mean obliterate.
Now,
The
no,
kanji written to write Quincy in Japanese is destructive monk.
now here's the thing. Reapers use their own internal energy to fight Hollows.
Hmm.
A Quincy takes the energy of other things around them, the air, the the grass, anything living that has energy, and absorbs that to make their weapon.
Hmm.
Which is where you see here the blue
Yeah.
bow and arrow, which is a hallmark for Quincy's as it is.
Quincy's are the other side, the hollows that they design themselves to be. The Soul Reapers use swords and Japanese style will use bows and a European style is what I meant is how it,
Hmm.
and because anyone with a high level of Reiatsu is mm, that looks like a delicious soul for a hollow. Quincy's themselves were naturally targeted by hollows. And Soul Reapers generally do their job, but not everybody. It's Rukia. Some don't take it seriously. We even find it later on that some don't care unless the hollow's worth a fight.
Now, when we bring up the Quincy's, Rukia later explains that when a Quincy kills the Hollow does not pass on.
It's gone.
This is
That's soul.
important, like really important.
Because in this Bleach world, reincarnation is an actual thing. You die, you reincarnate to the Soul Society, you live there for a while, you reincarnate back into the world of the living.
And
Roots
this is
and
all some sort of great balance machination.
yeah, because apparently new souls aren't really created. Like everything's made of soul particles, but an actual living soul itself is a special, unique thing that needs to be taken care of. Which makes you think there's a finite resource of them. Which
Raises a lot of
let's not
questions, but
let let's not get in that philosophical thing and on how there are more people alive now than have ever been humans
yeah, that
alive.
kind of raises the question of where did it start and all that other.
Mhm. But yeah, the important things to the Soul Reapers is they're bureaucrats. They manage the souls. There needs to be X number of souls. Hey, why are there less souls? Why are there progressively less and less souls? Oh, it's those Quincy's destroying hollows, not passing them on. We better genocide them.
Yeah, that kind of went over worldly well, let me tell you.
To be fair, the Quincy mindset was, oh, hey, those hollows, we better genocide them before they genocide us.
Now, like a lot of wars, and this goes into what generally what we're saying about trying to be political and everything with the show, there was generally not a good or evil wrong side to this war between the Quincy's and the Reapers.
Things just went completely out of hand.
Now, could they have come up to some other sort of agreement? Probably. Like,
Well,
okay,
we find out no, but still could have tried.
well, I'm just saying, probably some tried, but things got out of hand for other reasons.
Yeah, we definitely found out why it got so bloody,
Oh God, do
and
we ever?
yeah, and it's well written. But at the time when we first found Quincy's, it could have. We don't see any reason why not. And Uri was referred to as the last Quincy. Yeah, there are so few Quincy's left that if it literally is believed it's only his family is the last. And because of this, he has a major chip on his shoulders for Soul Reapers.
Oh God, yes, and that's where when he's first introduced, he is generally an asshole.
He's a brick.
Yeah. In fact, he is such an asshole, has such a chip on his shoulders. He challenged Ichigo to a contest of slaying the most hollows by
Yeah,
summoning them into the city.
yeah. Quincy's have equipment, like they have specialized tools. His is something he has one called Hollow Bait, which is, I don't know what it is. It's like a little pill he smushes and it attracts hollows. Now it's supposed to attract maybe 10, 50. Because Karakura Town, the town they live in, is so rich and delicious full of it. Once one hollow started coming through from the bait, off the blood happens.
Yeah, which also raises the question: why is only Rukia sent here?
Mhm.
I'm just saying, like that seems like an oversight as well. I just
There
thought
is
of.
another Shinigami, but I think he's not canon. I don't really remember. He's from storyline with Ichigo's family.
Are you talking about the one that didn't recognize Ichigo's
No,
medallion?
no, that's a later character. I'm
Okay,
talking about the Grand Fisher storyline.
we'll talk about that later.
Yes, but yeah, Uryu has a chip on his shoulder. Ichigo does not like this idea at all because who
Well,
cares if Quincy's or Shinigami soldiers are better? You have endangered hundreds of people.
now to
If
be
not,
fair, at the time they met, Uryu also didn't know that Ichigo was considered a substitute Soul Reaper.
yeah, he just thought Ichigo all of a sudden just well, Ichigo was his classmate for a long time. He's just like, oh, you're a sword now? Well, I'll show you
Mm-hmm. Like he
because
literally
he,
just
he projected all of his hatred of Soul Reaper onto Ichigo, and Ichigo's on the lines of, I have no idea what I'm doing.
yeah, and you find out Uryu does not have a solid grasp what he's doing either. At some points,
Yeah,
he like this really like this. Okay, so this was a bad idea. Like, but this got
mm,
so much worse in the next part of it.
yeah.
This is a Mitos Grande.
Yeah. See what happens when hollows get together and they can't find any humans to eat. They eat each other and get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until that.
They get so massive that they're pretty much nothing but a walking pile of instincts to devour more.
Now, these things are incredibly rare to show up in the human world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
when
when
this
they
shows
do, let me just show you the size comparison. Yeah, that's Ichigo
punt,
being kicked.
punt. Yeah, yeah. When Rukia sees them, she's basically thinking on the lines of, well, this is a retcon of what she says. But essentially, what she means is, oh shit, you need someone on, you need a big, big sword to show up. I'm not a big sworder, even if I was at full power. I could not tangle with a Menos.
Yeah, and this kind of leads to Ichigo's grand idea.
You said Ichigo's smart. He's not a genius, though.
I'm just gonna chop it into segments until I get to his mask, because you can still kill Minos Grande the same way as any other hollow.
This is how Ichigo's imagination works.
It's not much better than Ruki's Strolix, I'll say that.
Or Orchime's, but at least he's not doodling it down. This is just how he describes it.
But he's gonna chop it down into segments, get to the mask, and break the mask.
I just figured I'd chop it to like a tree. And while Uriel was unprepared for a Minos Grande, he's at least along the lines of telling him it's the dumbest idea I've ever heard of my entire life.
But yeah,
Wait,
we saw where charging got us.
Wait, you have so much raw energy. I can absorb energy to make my weapon stronger.
Ultimate combo!
What have you lend me your energy?
Tag teaming at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Tag team at its finest.
Sadly, they never fired this time. Really wish they had.
Could you match the size to the bow if this was the end game Uryu and Ichigo?
Yes. I'm just thinking along the lines of Frieza looking down, going, "Oh shit, that's one of my. Oh wait, that's not one of my plants I destroyed. Never mind. I don't mind."
But yeah, so basically, the running theme is that so much energy, even for a standard Soul Reaper.
Yeah, and he's actually unaware he's doing it. He's basically described as most people are a bottle of water. If you pour them at full strength, they'll eventually run empty. You should describe it as a sink just left on and you walked away.
Yeah, and you also notice the size of his sword too. This is actually a good example of that.
You know, I think it's a little bit wonky for proportion reasons, for joke reasons.
Yeah, but you get the idea that it is bigger than a katana.
Yes.
But
you also get the impression of how light it is for Ichigo.
Yeah, and was it tying it to his head really necessary?
I don't know. I think Uryu didn't trust Ichigo shaking hands. I don't know.
Like, couldn't they just put his hand on Uryu's shoulder, or was the sword necessary for transference? Because I think the sword was necessary for transference.
I just rolled the gags. We can see the bow because we're watching the show and reading the manga. Normal humans can't see the bow, so they just see Uryu running around, pretending he's firing arrows.
I forgot about that detail.
Because Uryu is still 100% human.
Yeah, the only one that actually leaves their body is Ichigo.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll explain that.
Trying to think of the next pictures. Okay. In fact, going on that belt, this is Rukia knocking Ichigo out of his body.
Yeah. As a swordsman, he can't fight in human form, so he has to leave his body behind to fight.
He is technically stronger, tougher, faster, yada yada, outside of his body as a soul.
Yeah, plus he has the sword.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you notice, there's a red glove on Rukia's hand. That is a item that she uses to knock Ichigo out of his body.
Yeah.
So, she generally, every time there's a hollow coming out, she comes running by, whoop, hey Ichigo, we gotta go fight hollows. And his body just drops wherever it is, Kamen Rider double style.
Unfortunately, this leads to his body just being left behind and technically being semi-dead.
Now, you might be asking yourself, where's his chain? Well, as a Soul Reaper, Ichigo doesn't need to be tethered to his body to go in and out of back of it. There's special circumstances for that.
Yeah, he's not a whole anymore. He's a different species.
Mm-hmm. He's pretty much a Soul Reaper, is what the species is generally called. There's more definition on that later, but for the purposes of Arc 1, that's the
Yes.
explanation.
Yes.
So, as we said, his body's pretty much left there like it's pretty much in a coma, which led to a lot of issues later on.
People kept trying to pick up his body to take to the hospital.
Yeah,
And then he would run back into his body, jump up, and go, "Oh no, I'm fine," runs off. And you'd be like, "He didn't have a pulse 10 seconds ago."
yeah, I can only imagine the phone calls his dad was getting about that.
Yes, hello, this is Ichigo's dad.
Yeah,
My
we
son's
find
comatose.
yeah, we find your son comatose in the hospital. He didn't have a pulse, and they just jumped up and ran out.
Well,
We're
good for
kind
him.
of concerned.
He got over it.
I'm going to
Bye,
call Child Protective Services now.
Captain Waggy away.
So Rukia decided to come up with a solution for that.
Yeah, it led to a character Cone. This is the first character I hate.
Uh,
I just straight up hate
Cone
Cone.
has his moments. I will say that.
He does. So basically, what happens is she gets a special kind of pill, a soul pill or a
That
soul
little green
candy.
thing in the fingers.
Yeah, that you pop in your mouth and it will knock you out because it puts a fake soul in you. It's a basically a puppet. It's supposed to be along the lines of it will act like a normal person. It will somewhat.
It'll at least keep
Um,
your body moving and keep it from being found comatose.
yes, it'll do follow basic instructions like, "Hey, soul, I need you to do my math homework while I go fight this hollow," or "Hey, stay in my math class while I go fight this hollow."
So you might be wondering why these were made. Well, apparently some soul reapers do come to human world and use a gigai,
Yeah,
and they need a quick way to pop out of it and not blow their cover or having their gigai
yeah, we
found
find out
comatose.
some soldiers do it because shit, human world stuff is cool. I want to enjoy this. Oh, but I can't as a ghost. This is very demoralizing. Fine, give you an excuse to play with the human things. And then the soul cannons were designed that way so they could pop out and do their job without raising a big fuss of people just fainting.
Cone is a very special soul
He's
candy.
a he's a mod soul. It's a different kind of thing. He is completely independent. He does not follow instructions. He has his own life, his own wants,
He's essentially
desires.
a soul for all intents and
Yeah,
purposes.
and he's a giant pervert.
Mm-hmm.
And as a mod soul, he's also super strong. So he makes Ichigo's already impressively strong body nearly as strong as a Soul Reaper.
You found out that the mod souls were originally created to be an army,
Yeah, they were a fake army, basically.
and then that project got shit canned because they found out because the moral implications. Good on you. I kind of question you destroying all the others, but
Yeah, problems.
I mean, good for you for realizing the moral implications of sending another living thing to fight Hollows. But you kind of pretty much committed genocide on that one. So screw you. Middle
That's
ground.
your answer. Is that your answer for everything?
Yeah, you kind of find out that the Reapers kind of have a hard on for genocide.
I mean, they did destroy an entire dimension in one movie.
Let's not go there. That's at the end. So if you notice that lion figure there is
Little plush.
Kone's general body. It is
Yeah.
Yuzu's plush lion.
Well, Ichigo finds it in the garbage.
Really, I thought that was Yuzu's.
That's garbage behind Kon.
Oh,
Yuzu sees it and falls in love with it and wants to keep it as a plush toy.
that's why I think it was Yuzu's.
She basically adopts it. So basically, the way the mod soul works, it'll work on anything that's basically humanoid. So after Ichigo gets his body back from Kone's misadventure, he still feels kind of bad for like, oh, he's technically a living thing. And he puts it in the plush toy to see if it works, and it works, and Kone hates it. But at least now Ichigo, after defeating Kone and bonding with him, can basically like, okay, I'll let you not be genocided. Just take care of my body and don't be a pervert with it.
So now Rukia pretty much smacks the back of Kone's head with the glove to knock out the pill and shove the
Yep.
pill into Ichigo.
Also, later on, Ichigo will reach into Kone's mouth, just pull it out.
There's also the funny one where Rukia pretty much makes him kiss and knocks the pill out into
Oh
Ichigo.
yeah, I forgot about that
That
one.
was
That's
my
just
favorite one.
my favorite one's always just like, hey, what are you doing?
I just love how they have the two memory of kissing each other.
Mm.
So,
But,
let's see what the next one is.
where's Rukia getting all these things from?
That's what I was just about to ask.
We get
Meet
introduced to my favorite
Kisuke.
character. Kisuke Urahara, owner of the Urahara shop, or the Urahara Shoten.
Now, the first
It's
thing
a
I want to mention here before we go too far, there was actually debate for the creator into making this the villain.
hmm
And I think this image really shows off why I believe that could have happened.
hmm
Because that is the look of a man with a shadowy scheme, if ever I've seen one.
Urahara is described as a shady businessman, a mad scientist, and if you ask him, he's just a humble, handsome candy shop owner.
Humble candy shop owner, my ass.
Ah, don't you see the silly string and the boxes of mint candies and these are just his employees.
You know, the kid wielding the Oni club and the girl wielding a rocket launcher.
And then
And
there's
the
Tesla.
7-foot muscle man.
Yeah. These are also a group of characters underused. Kisuke is not underused, thankfully. But yeah, Kisuke sells both real world candy. His shop is in Katakura Town. It's down an alley. It's in a weird spot, but it's a normal looking store. You walk in, you can buy candy, you can buy general supplies,
But if you're in
or
the know of the Soul Society,
there
he
are
has a
rumors of
special product.
yep. He sells and makes a lot of things. Rukia's glove. He had Cone's pill. He was I don't know how he had Cone's pill. I don't think he was part of the development of Mod Souls.
Actually, he was.
Oh, okay, I forgot that then. Um,
He was, or he had some knowledge of because he grabbed a couple of them.
yeah, he definitely would have studied them when we find out his backstory.
Mm-hmm.
But he also can see ghosts, and he is when the massive hollow attack happens from all the hollows and the Menos Ground he shows up. He is not worried.
Nope.
No, this is not even a big deal to him.
That's not even a blip on his radar.
It's a blip on his radar for lines of I want to see how Ichigo's going to handle this, which again leads to the whole credence: is he a bad guy? But he prevents Rukia from calling for backup
Mm-hmm.
for multiple reasons. Oh, we find out those reasons later on for next season. But yeah, he is the show's greatest source of we need something explained, we need a solution, and we need unbridled comedy.
It's
Because
the best comedy is when sends Ichigo a message. He sends a doll that explodes on Ichigo's wall in a massive amount of blood.
if anyone thinks this is a dying man's message, they have no sense of humor.
Like,
Uh,
oh, like it literally looked like him flying through the air through Ichigo's window into the wall, and it just explodes.
into this blood dripping message that looked like it was carved in someone's finger. And I love how Ichigo gets mad and throws a pillow at the message.
You know, Ichigo kicked him later for that.
Oh yeah, I wasn't expecting an elbow.
But yeah, Kisuke definitely plays by the shadows whenever he's around, and
Yeah,
that really leads you to believe that something is up with this.
yeah,
I mean, beyond just
but
him knowing about hollows and being creative with it, like there is just something not right here.
yeah, he even sells things that can help humans fight hollows, not to the general public. But
Yeah,
if you
but
need some,
what's
if you
so
need a get, if you need a gadget, you go to the Urahara Shoten.
now, if you're really observant throughout the series, you'll notice one character appearing in the show, and that would be this cat. That's not
Yay,
important whatsoever.
kitty!
But
This
this
is
is what
my second favorite character.
but this is what convinced M that Kisuke's not evil. He
Yes,
loves the cat.
he reacts the same way I do. Luckily for Kisuke, the cat does not react like cats react to me when I do that.
Well, cats are cats. But
Yeah,
throughout the
this is all
show, you will notice this black cat, and it is specifically this black cat
yes.
appears randomly around the show. It's not revealed.
Also, someone in the Urahara show that can drive a truck. But yeah, this is the front of the shop.
I think that's Tetsu that drives that truck.
Would you want Kisuke behind the wheel?
I wouldn't want Kisuke around me, period.
Would you want the third character we're going to talk about, Lair, behind the wheel? Because I think they'd be a speed demon.
That could be kind of fun.
Do you want the angry kid with the Oni Club driving the truck,
Wee!
or do you want the shy mute, almost mute girl driving the truck?
The mute girl.
I don't know. What if she sees a hall? She might go turn right around your ass.
At least I know I'll be protected.
Okay, she might go turn her with the truck.
I'll jump out.
Is that better or worse than how Fies handles trucks?
Probably better.
Yeah.
But you can see this is really is just a humble, down to earth shop because this is him just popping out of his shop to go pet the kitty.
Edie.
But yeah, for future reference, that this place houses one hell of a couple of secrets.
Oh my goodness gracious, yes. It's also like wedged between two places. I think it's an apartment building there, or like a motel.
So pretty much everything continues on that Rukia goes to Kisuke for information and gadgets. He supplies her with the gig guy.
Being
Um,
really shady about shit. He does offer to replace Colin with a normal soul, a fake soul. But when each goes on lines of, he's kind of a living thing, you could, and he's like, all right, that's your choice, man. If you don't want to store a refund, that's no skin on my back.
you also get the feeling that this is kind of the outcome that Kisuke wanted.
Yeah,
And
things often go according to cake for Kisuke.
mhm. And part of the reason why I think that he wanted him to have the mod soul was because, as Em mentioned, they are much stronger than a normal soul. So
Hmm.
allowing Khan to, when he's not being an absolute perv, somewhat
Or
protect the Kurosaki family.
yes, or at least Ichigo himself.
Yeah, because even Khan is somewhat of a target, and to protect the family and Ichigo's body, he at least needs some sort of combat ability.
Hmm.
Now, like I say, things continue on in this cycle for a good while.
Yep.
Then Soul Society decides to check in when they find out that Rukia has committed a fatal crime.
Also, they really make notice when Rukia slays a Menos Grande. Well, not slays it, but forces it back.
Yeah, that kind of raised a lot of questions. Because pretty much
So,
that arrow
yeah,
didn't fire, as Em mentioned. Ichigo
yeah,
pretty much
Ichigo
just blocked.
knocked back knocked back one of his attacks at it,
Yeah.
wounding it enough to force it back. So the Soul Society base goes, okay, that's not in her ability. We should double check all the things she's reported on. Yeah, some of this stuff is not adding up. Her energy signature is also very different.
Now,
We need an investigation team.
yeah, you also find out that Kisuke was helping cover for, but he could only cover for so much.
Yeah, he's also himself trying not to get too much notice.
Yeah. Just for future reference, the man on the left with the black hair, that's Rukia's brother-in-law.
Yep.
The man is very uptight.
He's also her now adopted older brother. We'll get into that for the next season. It's actually a pretty sweet story.
Mm-hmm.
The man on the right is
Renji
Rukia's
Aborame.
Rukia's childhood friend.
Mm-hmm.
So these two are very important people to Rukia. She greatly loves and respects both of them.
So it was the reason I think they were sent was that Ruki would come with them willingly and
Yeah,
not cause a big fuss.
that and with Byakuya's political standing, he probably also said along the lines of, "This is my family's mess. I'll clean it up."
So it actually was going that direction. She was willingly turning herself in,
Hmm.
and Ichigo decided to reject that notion.
Yeah, and we get to learn a little bit more about Soul Reapers.
So remember how I called that sword Zanpakuto in its sealed state?
Roar, Sabimaru.
Yeah, it can pretty much go into a second stage of transformation and gain a whole different slew of attacks depending upon who is releasing their sword.
Each sword is different. Each sword is based off the character. So you see the little individual tinier fangs on Zabimaru.
You also notice that there's a slight line going in there from the fang.
Zabimaru can extend. It's made of coiled wires underneath that. So Renji not only has a more brutal looking sword, he can swing it and it basically becomes a sword whip.
Mm-hmm. Now,
And each go, yeah, that's beyond his combat ability to fight someone like Renji
yeah, this
at
is the
this
first time
time.
he's actually fought what is called a lieutenant of the
Hmm.
Soul Society,
Also referred to as a vice captain in the
mm-hmm.
manga.
depending upon which section, lieutenant, vice captain.
I
But
flip flop
after
on.
that, it goes numbers: first seat, second seat, third seat, fourth seat, so on and
No, no,
so
no.
forth.
First seat is captain.
You're right.
Second is lieutenant or vice captain. Third seat is third seat.
Well,
But
I'm just
yeah,
saying after the captain and vice captain, it goes by numbers.
yeah, these are all impressive members of every squad. We'll explain squads when we get to the next season. We are
That
going
comes up
through it.
much more, but I just thought that was of note that this
Yeah, this
isn't
is
a run of the mill Soul Reaper.
yeah. No, these two are elites.
Yes.
But Byakuya is a captain, and
Well,
when
before
Byakuya
then, let's allow me to interject for just a moment.
no, I'm sorry.
Renji starts kicking Ichigo's ass. Then instinctively, Ichigo just goes full force and pretty much knocks Renji on his ass.
Yeah, it's a big surprise that he went from his power level is 100. How did it get to 20,000?
Which then leads to Byakuya just saying, yeah, we're done here.
Yeah, you remember how big Ichigo's sword was?
Yeah, let me just bring up that other picture for just a second, real quick. Went from that to, yeah, I think we're missing some pieces here.
Yeah, Byakuya does 2 slashes. We don't get to see those slashes. That's how fast he is.
Yeah, he is incredibly good at what's called a flash step.
Yeah, he uses 1 slash to destroy the sword, and the other slash to destroy Ichigo's connection to his Soul Reaper powers,
Mm-hmm.
which is described as a very difficult technique to do, even if your opponent is standing still. But for
Which,
Byakuya, Ichigo might as well be,
standing still.
laying flat on the ground with all of his vital points. Just here, hit all my vital spots.
Yeah, the thing about it is that once he hits the vital point, Ichigo goes back to being a plus.
Yep.
And
This is
Rukia still didn't
described,
get her powers back, so.
which led to a lot more questions.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that's explained the next season. And then Rukia, reason why Rukia was willing to go with these two is she did not want A, Ichigo to be discovered, and B, Ichigo to die. And Byakuya was going to leave Ichigo to die on the little street.
Yeah, fortunately, we know a good candy shop owner that kind of took care of that issue.
Oh, the Candyman can.
But before we go on to that part, we need to explain something here
Mm-hmm.
that Rukia
For
is clearly
Ichigo,
showing us a very good description of.
mhm. For Ichigo to get his powers back, which he wants his powers back to rescue Rukia, he basically on the spot says, "I'm going to save my friend."
Yeah. Now,
Keys basically will get him back his solar powers, but at first, there's a chance it might go horribly wrong. You
now,
see, when the chain breaks, we already described someone lingers too long, they become a hollow. But something else can happen when that does. But let's continue with the holification first.
all right. Well, if you look at the images Rukia is presenting, you see the dead person body with the chain being broken to the spirit. That is step one of pretty much dying.
Yep.
Now, if you linger and become what I generally call a poltergeist, you become chained to a place of your own torment, essentially.
Hmm.
You see how the chains start wrapping around him and preventing from going anywhere else.
Yep. He becomes obsessed with whatever's chaining him down.
That chain will literally eat itself until it reaches your hole.
Yeah, which is not a hole at the time.
No, but it does open up, and some do have more of a hole than others. That's kind
Yeah.
of.
This is why they're referred to as hollows. There's a hole in them, and they are lacking something that fundamentally makes them human. As such, they become grotesque monsters.
Mm-hmm. Various sizes, various shapes, various powers.
However, in that stage, there is a great amount of power you are awakened to. Kisuke uses that by knocking Ichigo out of his body, severing his chain, and saying, if you don't become a Soul Reaper from this massive power awakening, you'll become a Hollow. If you become a Soul Reaper, I will let you go save Rukia.
There is also another important specification here. Ichigo had soul powers from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
What um, Byakuya severed from Ichigo was Rukia's soul powers.
Mm-hmm.
What
So not
Ichigo
everyone can awaken to their powers, but they can awaken to great powers from this.
Ichigo had to find his own soul powers that he had, and that's why when he pulled from Rukia, he pulled everything.
Yes, we also find out another reason for that, but that's spoilers for
Hmm.
final season.
So basically, he had to find inside himself something that was already there, which in his inner world, which is kind of like pretty much his inner psyche, essentially,
Hmm.
was a ribbon that is pretty much connected to his soul powers, essentially.
Yeah. Of course, this is not an easy process because as he is essentially becoming a hollow, his entire mind is collapsing because hollows are almost mindless creatures beyond their
Hmm.
desires. So he would have still gone to save Rukia probably, but he would have just been heartless about everything else.
And probably tried to eat her 1 or 2 times.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I'm sure that would be fine for the friendship.
You couldn't get closer than their souls being merged in the stomach.
Yeah, I mean that's how I make all my friends.
I'm going to move slightly further away now.
So this is where I want to bring up that I think the creator is fantastic at foreshadowing.
Hmm.
This is foreshadowing so far ahead into the series
Hmm.
that I can't even begin to see the thought process.
No. Now, this might have been along the lines of uh, him also, hey, I did this. I could tie into this another idea I had. But it also is very much along the lines of, I want to get to point B without being like an asshole.
Hmm.
Let's slowly build up to it. And this is what Ichigo looks like upon waking up with his powers back.
Now, you may notice that there's still something on his face. If you look really close, you can see it.
Uh, the,
This comes
the,
up later.
the bandages on him are from them trying to hold him down as he was transforming into a hollow, and they didn't want him to
Kill
hurt.
them.
Yeah, they
So you
wanted
can
to give
ignore the
him.
bandage, the pins in his shoulder, and the wraps.
Yeah,
That's the white wraps. That's not important. What is important is that hollow mask on his face,
yes,
because that is not the last time we will see that.
yeah, but he was like 5 seconds from becoming a hollow.
And the other thing you should take notice: every time that mask does come up, the markings on it change,
Mm,
which is both important and not important at the same time, and it's really irritating.
it is,
But
but once with his powers back, we get to go into one of my favorite parts of the first season.
the training arc,
Mm,
I'm gonna kill you again.
yep,
Which but then we also realized that Kisuke has a Zanbakuto.
yep.
Now,
Awaken Benahime.
foreshadowing, every being that has a Zanbakuto that we know of is a Soul Reaper.
Yeah, but this is just a candy shop owner.
Can't shop over my ass.
That's a terrible name for a candy shop.
But his sword is named. Now, every sword has a name. As you heard M
Yep.
say, uh, Renji's is
Renji's
Zabimaru's.
Kisuke's is
Kisuke's is.
Benahime.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Zabimaru means something along the lines of the ape snake tail. Benahime means
Something along that lines.
Benahime means something along the lines of blood princess.
I thought it was Crimson Princess, but I could be wrong on that one.
I think it could be Crimson Blood Princess, depending on the translation.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the things that's depending on what trace. But I know for sure Crimson is definitely involved, and
Yeah,
Princess. But
yeah,
that's as far as I can remember.
yeah.
Now, as we stated, every sword
Ichigo,
when it's released in its first stage has a special power.
yeah.
Benehime's kind of makes like a energy shield thing.
Benahime makes energy. It can either be used for attacks or shields or even later on ropes.
Hmm. Now, you might have noticed that there's a problem with Ichigo's sword in this picture.
It's still the one he borrowed from Rukia.
Yeah, we get it even worse. It makes that even worse.
Yeah, we get to see Kisuke's true unleashed sword in this image because before he hid it in his sword cane. It was
Mm.
a sword cane.
I like his
And
handle. I will say that one. It
yeah,
looks really cool.
yeah. And here he is basically pointing at Ichigo that that's borrowed sword of yours has no killer instinct, so it's useless against me.
I would just like to
Ichigo,
say that this also demonstrates the skill Kisuke has because he pretty much broke the handguard without breaking his hand.
yeah. It's basically essentially what Kisuke just did here right now is his last line of lines of, all right, I'm done playing. The next slash is you're dead. You've got to defeat me for this training, or I'm done with you. The goal of the training Ichigo is currently under right now is if he can knock off Kisuke's head, he passes and gets to actually learn things.
To be fair, he gave it a hell of a try at the start.
I also love how Kisuke basically says at one point when Ichigo's down the handle, you can still use that to whack me if you want, but yeah, good
Yeah,
luck with that.
like I said, Ichigo should not have a hand after that cut. I mean, look where that line is going.
Mm-hmm.
So, the reason every sword has a name is because every Zanpakuto has a spirit.
They're a living creature inside your sword. The sword and the soul reaper are essentially tied. The We find out how they're made later on, but essentially you pour your energy into a sword and it awakens as a creature. This creature reflects you.
Mm-hmm.
They can be anything from a ape with a snake tail to a sexy ape lady with a snake attached to it by a chain. That's a joke for later. To this is Ichigo's soul in a sword,
Zangetsu.
or as he refers to it, old man Zangetsu,
Mm-hmm.
who delivers one of the best lines about Ichigo's training.
Now,
Retreat, retreat, and you will age. Flee, and you will die. He's basically saying, Ichigo, you need to turn around and face Kisuke head on, or he is going to kill you.
yeah, you're not running away from this. He
No,
literally outclasses you every way.
Kisuke is playing with you. If Kisuke wants to, he can end this fight and kill you. You've got to end this fight before Kisuke gets bored. And he basically just said to you, Ichigo, I'm bored.
Now, there is also one other thing I'd like to state for future episodes. Just because this is a part of you does not mean it thinks exactly the same. It is a, well, I should say it does think the same as you, but it's,
Reflection of you. It's kind of like if you've ever played the Persona series, like especially
mm-hmm.
Persona 4, it's basically a part of your shadow. It
Yes.
wants something you want as well, but it reflects it in a different way.
It can be your darker impulses, your willingness to protect people, your vanity for
Your willingness to
someone.
protect yourself, your
Um,
selfishness. Essentially, to be a truly powerful sorcerer, you and your sword must commune. You must 100% agree with each other. There must be no conflict of interest between each other.
Easier said than done with some others.
Some do not like the idea of being a sword because would you yourself like to be a sword? They would reflect that. And I find that really fascinating.
But if you are able to commune with your sword and start the process of cooperation, you will get your Shikai form.
You will learn the true name of your sword. And once you know the true name of your sword, it takes its true form.
Now,
Zangetsu.
this is the true form, Shikai, of the Zangetsu sword that Ichigo possesses.
Still big, but now it has absolutely no handle and no sheath whatsoever. It wraps itself in the cloth around it and it hangs on his back.
And this is
And
an
then
interesting process for Ichigo in a lot of ways. Remember the words that Zangetsu spoke to Ichigo. It is a very forward thinking, a little less defensive way of thinking.
mm-hmm.
And that is exactly what this sword looks like. This sword looks like it was meant to go forward and kill things. It's essentially a meat cleaver,
Yeah,
with a lack of better terminology.
no, it
It's not
works.
fancy, it's not ornamental. The thing was meant to literally kill you.
Mm-hmm. Zangetsu means slaying moon in English.
Mm-hmm.
It has one special power.
Pretty much from the tip of the blade, it will shoot spirit energy.
A attack referred to as a Getsuga Tensho, which I forget what that means. It means
Uh,
something moon.
isn't like Breaking Moon or something like that?
I thought it was Howling Moon, but I could be
It
wrong.
could be Howling. Regardless, it's a very impressive attack.
It's his Kamehameha.
Yeah.
And he uses it like Goku's Kamehameha. As in, hey, if it works, don't break it.
Yeah, the thing about Ichigo is that he is a natural fighter from both his instincts from being raised with his dad, some
Good morning, Ichigo!
his willingness to protect others.
The intensive week-long training he gets from Kisuke,
Mm-hmm.
his years as a street fighter, his understanding of karate. Like he went okay in karate. So he is very fight smart.
Hmm.
He's got a good head on his shoulders for understanding the fight and how to use it to his advantage at
This
times.
is his greatest strength and his greatest weakness both at the same time. He
Mm-hmm.
is a think fighter for the first part of it.
Mm-hmm. Spends too much time in his own head sometimes,
Yes.
and he ends up fighting people who are like either so strong or so much fight smarter than him that he can't get his way around it. So he needs to just go instinct. But we'll explain that when we get to the third season.
The end of the second, beginning of the third, yeah, that comes up a lot more. Like a lot more.
I'm willing to bet you'll have that entire speech memorized by the time we get to the third season.
I'm sorry, my favorite speech.
Hey, I told you Zangetsu is one of my favorite speeches, so I won't judge you. At least Zangetsu's though shorter.
Eh. I'm trying. I'm biting my tongue not to reel too much for anybody that's new to the series.
Yes. I mean, like I said, we've done the final arc. We know all the spoilers. We could easily go with the spoilers right now. I mean, I
Hmm.
could start vomiting them up right now, but I do not want to because
We will, like I said before at the start, we will be doing each arc for the show,
we
but
want you to. If
more
you
details at
want,
the end when we're
yeah,
all done. But
yeah,
so Ichigo now has a step up in power because upon releasing his sword, is considered what he pretty much went Super Saiyan essentially. He got a power up.
yeah. A Reaper without their sword is pretty strong. Once it's released, they're about 3 times stronger generally, unless their sword is really not suited for combat. And that happens. You can get a Zanpakuto that turns into something for healing, for defending.
Or turns things into flowers. Don't ask. I
While
got
it is a filler sword, it is still a completely legitimate power for a Zanpakuto.
what is all filler episodes and arcs will be discussed at the end of all the other arcs for
Uh,
time management.
Side note: we don't hate filler on
No,
concept alone.
the,
Execution that'll come when that comes.
there's a discussion there, which I think was better at the end of everything. Will be noted when in the series when the
Filler happens, but will be landlines, and we'll come back to you later.
indeed. But basically, this is Ichigo. Chad and Orihime are also training with a secret character. That we'll leave it there for that moment.
Hey, you're a fluffy kitty. What? I'm sorry, I was paying a cat.
So pretty much they're all trained and ready to go, and that's pretty much where the series first season leaves off. They're ready to go to Soul
Oh, and
Society.
Uryu joins them.
Mm-hmm.
Chad goes because, hey, I got your back. Ichigo, you have a problem. I'm there to punch the problem for you.
Yes,
Orihime goes because Ruki is her friend and she has a massive crush on Ichigo, so she wants to help him and her.
and
Chad goes. Uryu goes because
I think Oreo originally went because he wanted to show up the Reapers.
he also has a slight crush on Orihime, so he may have
Yeah,
wanted to go to protect her. He may have wanted to go to show up the Sawyers, or he may have wanted to go because it is technically his fault Rukia was taken.
yeah. He also has some slight blame for that too, which he acknowledges, which starts
Yes.
to warm you up to him. You realize that there's more here than you first suspect. He's more than just
Yeah,
being an asshole.
once his head is out of his own ass, he actually ends up being one of my favorite characters.
He is literally the genius of the group for it.
He's also the straight man of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Ichigo himself is a straight man, but when Ichigo goes wacky, it's Uryu's job to make speed on lines of, oh my god, shut up.
So here's the thing. This also had a pilot episode.
Oh yes,
That is a coffee cup that she is sitting in, folks.
it's your bath time. In the pilot, rather than lose her powers, she turned into fairy size.
Which is so much funnier and at the same time more questioning.
Yeah, and in that version, Orihime also dies from her hollow dad attack.
Uh,
Same premise as the brother.
Also,
Only
Ichigo did have black hair in the pilot.
I believe so. Yes,
I checked that out. It was black hair.
yeah. Okay. Kupo quickly turned it orange, though. I remember that much.
Yeah, no. Once he got the main series, go ahead. He just wanted something different for Ichigo.
Yeah, I recommend the pilot. It's pretty good.
It's an interesting read, and you can see all the details. It's not so off the loop that like the Naruto pilot was.
Yeah, the Naruto pilot is 100%
Way
bullshit.
different.
Bleach's pilot a lot of lines of okay, I see this. It's definitely not as out there as the Death Note pilot or the Naruto pilot. They definitely see the genesis of Bleach from the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Few things changed for the better. I do, however, like the jokes of Tiny Rukia. They actually do reference a few times in filler episodes of the anime, so I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. So generally, with all reason, so I'm just going to increase this a little bit, and then I'll turn it back to normal size.
Mhm.
Just right then.
These are
The,
our mains.
let's
That's
discuss the
all.
first arc before we end it off, because I think we'll
For
do
how long?
each arc and discuss.
How long have we been going?
Let me check on that. Actually, I'm just actually curious. So
Because
far, we have been going on for. Actually, it doesn't tell me. It just tells me I'm still recording.
oh crap, it feels like ages. No one's gonna listen to all this rambling of two.
But so
Oh, you
far,
paused.
it had a really strong start. Rukia, Chad, Uryu, Orihime, and the other characters get a good feel for. What,
Mhm.
if
You
anything, I think the first.
minimize the image on my screen.
Really?
There you go.
Oh, because
Yeah.
I see what I did. Okay.
Mhm.
Really,
No problem.
the first major issue is it's more smaller details for later seasons that raise questions, and we'll
Yeah,
get to that later.
a lot of people I know are either not, don't really like the slice of life nature of the first season. I like it, but I think it went on just right for me. Some people say too long, some people say not long enough. But in the end, the first season does a poor job of explaining, not explaining, but showing you what the rest of Bleach is going to be. All this lore world building stays true, stays happening, but the slice of life nature, gone.
Mm-hmm.
The high school drama, pretty much gone. The focus ends up being less and less with the people of Kakarot Town and more with Ichigo and the Soul Reapers we see in the next few seasons.
Well, with a few of the issues popping up, I can understand why, because there are bigger
Yes.
issues
Yeah.
going around.
What I do know is some of Taito Kubo wanted to do a lot more with the first arc and the Katakuro Town stuff, but his editors were on the lines of no.
And I kind of agree with them on that one because, like I said, you have this whole. Well, spoilers for that, but you have wars, a war looming on that is pretty much
Yeah.
huge. Everything else kind of feels a little lessening on that one. Like at the start,
Yeah.
it's pretty much just the day to day life of doing Ruki's job and trying to mix
Mhm.
that in with his daily life. You see how that works. That
Yeah.
process is no longer majorly involved.
Oh, and we did skip one important story, but the thing is, we don't want to actually cover that important story about Ichigo's family that's in the first season. I actually think it's too good. You need to either read it yourself, see it yourself, or watch the OVA of it. That's right. It was so good. It was done three times, and I think all three times
We
are
will
good.
also discuss later on when other characters get more involved with it.
Yes, two characters about that storyline
We
have a very
did
good arc.
hint to it though, if you pay attention.
Mhm. But yeah, and this is what I mean by I think it was done just right. I think
Mm-hmm.
that story and the few slices of life and introducing Ichigo's main friends, it is kind of a shame that a few of his other friends got left behind. But these are the most important characters to take from this season. Unfortunately, later seasons, three of them get shafted badly.
Mm-hmm.
One worse than any other. One gets shafted in a logical way I don't really hate. And the last one gets shafted and then immediately has a huge comeback.
Right, and we'll discuss those when they come up.
Yes.
What I think is also, like I was saying, that one of the little critiques I have is, and I know this was probably early on, so maybe some of it wasn't thought of, is the small little things that don't add up later on.
Now, there are a few.
Like
Not.
Ichigo not having chain when he goes Reaper. Um,
Hmm,
like, yeah, you have to question that because that's the only time they ever done that. There's no real talk of it.
mm-mm,
Um, I mean, they were going to go save Rookie, so they didn't have time to question it there.
no.
Um, just small little things that if you pay attention, you're wondering how does this add up. but at the same time, it's nothing anything major. This was actually a pretty solid start for a series.
It's a foundation. I mean, I still have some problems. I don't care for all of Ichigo's friends. I don't care for Koan in the slightest. I don't think Koan adds anything to the story, really. They do use him sometimes in a good way, but I feel he wasn't needed this at all. Like, they could have easily gotten around those few things he solved with something
Mm-hmm.
else, or even just make Ichigo's turn into the Reaper, not leaving a body behind. That does defeat a few gags I'd like, but if that got rid of Koan, that's a sacrifice I was be willing to
Well, I
make.
can't argue. I kind of don't would never want that because it kind of defeats the purpose of a Reaper. That in a sense,
You're not wrong about that. I'm just saying I feel like Cone is not an elegant solution to that problem, and
you
like I
feel
said,
you feel like the pervert in the group is kind of a tired old trope. Is essentially what it is.
it
If
really is. There's only a handful of pervert characters I feel actually work in their context. Jiraiya from Naruto was actually one of the few I liked. While I'm disgusted by Happosai in Ranma One Half, they at least tend to treat him like they should treat a pervert along the lines of destroy the monster,
Master Roshi from Dragon Ball.
which he himself has improved over years because not only is Akira Toriyama, but Toei Entertainment realized this is not good today. It wasn't even very good in the 80s and the early 90s, but we got away with it because generally Roshi did have some funny jokes, but if it probably made a lot of people more uncomfortable than it made funny. So yeah, let's not overplay that part of Roshi because there's a lot of better traits of Roshi.
Well, the strong point of Roshi is that he had other things to him. Khan, most of the time, when he appears, is trying to either jump for the bosom or
Yeah,
jump for the
that's
bosom.
it. That's it.
Like other, unless he's in Ichigo's body or it's plot specific, he doesn't really do anything. Roshi at least shows up and is a
He's a
person
badass.
essentially.
He's a person who's a pervert.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Try. He's a person who's a pervert. Cone is a joke that's a pervert. Happosai is a joke that's a pervert, but the entire joke is destroy him. Is that he's too powerful and too perverted. He must be sealed or destroyed. That joke kind of worked for me, but if it didn't work for you, it didn't work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Cone didn't work for me. If Cone works for you, okay,
Have at
I
it.
can't, I can't argue that. He's just the first character of the show that I legitimately label with "I hate you." Please go away.
I think the other thing is that Chad and Orihime follow along with all this way too easily. Like we're talking
Yeah.
about
Okay.
the
Okay.
afterlife.
Yeah. They get away with this by Orihime being kind of in her own world and Chad being, all right, Ichigo, this is your problem. I guess it's mine now. But we really could have gotten more from them. Like, we could have actually had at one point where the two of them are alone in all this craziness and going along the lines of, does this make any sense to you? Not
Well, no,
really.
I'm just saying, like, okay, I mean, they can't deny what they've seen at this
No,
at,
yeah.
by the end of it. Like, ghosts are real, the Hollow monsters are real, and the only thing you can tell me is basically Soul Society sent only Rukia here to keep an eye over the entire city. I have so many concerns and questions about this.
Yeah, that's another thing we can go on about. The Soul Society itself is supposed to be more of a mystery at this point, but it also doesn't feel like it's mysterious for mysterious. It feels more along it's mysterious because, well, the bureaucracy is just dumb.
Well, the thing about it is that Uryu's candy or bait that he used to summon the Hollows didn't summon them out of thin air. They were already in the city.
Yeah, the Menos was the only summoned out of thin air.
So there were already all those hollows in the city, and only Rukia's around to kind of keep, maintain the entire area.
There are some captains I think would have a trouble with that many number, just in terms of that many number. They wouldn't have a problem fighting them. It's just on lines of shit. This is like hollow number 300. My swinging arm is getting exhausted.
Yeah. So it kind of lends itself to a question of who is running this place,
Mm-hmm.
which you learn is really kind of a bigger issue than you think it is.
Yeah, still feels like someone along the lines of would notice along the lines of, sir, is this right? Now, them being out of touch with human society, I actually don't have that big of a problem with because when you see what the Soul Society looks like, you can understand why they're out of touch.
Yeah, I let some of those things pass. I mean, if she had not understood what a car was or an airplane,
Mhm.
I would have really objected to that.
Yeah, the tiny things like juice boxes and greetings, and you don't bow or curtsy like that. Those make sense. Those are like fine details.
Hmm.
Someone even you might miss, even if there are good classes in the human world.
And it's not
But you
even that
find,
some of the older people with like the more traditional manners
mhm,
wouldn't have them.
no.
So there are some exceptions to it,
But if it wasn't someone like Rukia who's willing to learn, I can definitely see some of the Reapers we know in later seasons standing out like a goddamn sore thumb.
and they do.
And they do. We see most of them in some filler episodes.
Um,
One of
and
our one Reaper though fits in better than Rukia does instantaneously, and I think that really does suit her character.
mhm.
Although I
Which
just wish she could
again
find,
is their
I just
character
wish
fitting in.
she could find a fitting top.
No, she's fine. I'm fine with it.
Oh no, I don't have a problem with it. I just sometimes when I'm thinking when she's fighting, I'm like, how does she keep that in?
I,
And that actually, I will tell you how that works later because that's kind of a spoilery
Mhm.
thing. But it's just
I,
Kubo being Kubo.
yeah, I think the only other issue I have is, and this is just me not liking the trope, is the airheaded ditzy Orihime.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's like she doesn't have to be the most intelligent person on the show, but some of the things that her thought process during some of the situations is just
How did you get from point A to point 4?
yeah.
These were letters we were talking about. How did
I
you?
mean, her heart's in the right place. I will never deny her that.
Yeah, she's a
She
sweet girl. She
generally
means
means
well.
well and does not want people to be hurt, so I give her full credit for that.
Yeah,
But
and she stays pretty static character wise,
yeah,
but at the same time, her character is not obnoxiously static. Like,
she does evolve a little bit as it goes on, but sometimes it's like, how are you living on your own?
yeah, when you find out how she eats, you're wondering how she's so healthy looking.
Yeah, she's one of those weird eaters, isn't she? If I remember right.
Yeah, that's the joke is she'll like one of the jokes is you put carrots in your curry. That's weird. I put like relish in my curry.
Yeah, I. But like I said, it's not enough to make me hate or dislike her per se. It's just one of those. I just hate that annoying trope.
Yeah, she's a good example of a trope. She's a good example of a character. She's a good character, but she's an example of a trope you don't like.
Hmm.
You can disassociate her somewhat from that trope, but when that trope rears its ugly head, it does harm to her character.
Hmm.
It's, yeah, that happens to me every now and then. I have care. There are people like that where I'm like, I don't like this trope, but I still like you.
That's generally a good feel for all of them. It's like even if there's something about the character you hate, you still feel them as a character and how they fit in with the living world. Or well, I say
Yeah,
living world, but a lot more standards than I realize at this point.
fair enough.
But you
There's
realize
like
that their personalities, their traits.
okay, even Cohen, a character I hate, has his moments, and I cannot deny that.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of Kubo's strong points of writing. Is yes, he crams way too many characters into a story.
That
But
gets a lot more shown
yeah,
in later episodes.
but every character at least leaves some impression on you, unless they have like 5 seconds of screen time. You may instantly forget their name. You may instantly forget what that impact was. But if they show up back again later, you might generally have that inkling of, oh yeah, you're the character who did.
Yeah, because Ichigo has two other classmates. One's a perv as well,
Yeah, but he's a much more like,
self-composed perv.
yeah. No, there's also the crazy lesbian perv.
Oh yeah, I forgot about her.
I did not,
Thank you
but
for reminding me. Then you
I
also get
actually
this
don't.
the smart kid.
The casual guy who's always on his phone.
Hmm.
Then there's like 4 or 5 other girls that are kind of quiet, but
Pretty much background noise with those four.
yeah. But they all when you can see them, like they're
Hmm.
always uniquely designed. Kubo does sometimes recycle faces a bit, but he at least puts them in like a different hat. And the hat is very noticeable. You'll notice the hat first, or the
Hmm.
hair, or the outfit, or the sword. Like, obviously, I don't care what artist you are, you're going to repeat parts of your designs.
Hmm.
Either
If
because,
nothing more
A,
than like for like a video game, it saves resources.
or,
It's a quick draw. It's almost like a quick copy and paste for a lot of artists so they can focus on
yeah,
better things.
yeah.
So
Or if you're a mangaka, you're often on lines of you have a weekly deadline. holy shit, I have to design an entire new character. I don't have the energy for that because I found this out for the last two arcs of Bleach. I believe Kubo was drawing with a dislocated shoulder.
Damn.
He didn't even know because he
Yeah,
didn't have time to go see a proper doctor.
yeah, it explains a couple of things, but it wasn't terrible.
It
It
does. It also makes me think of, oh my god, he was limiting himself for that final arc. Jeez, some of the designs were insane. Could you imagine if his arm was in place for those designs?
but I think the other thing I will say this one I like the Soul Reaper design.
Yeah,
The
it's a
the
simple.
the black cloak, the white. I think it's called an
Yeah,
obi. If I remember my terminology right,
the
the
term they
belt.
use in show is they're wearing a shihak show.
Well, it's pretty much a
That's the
sash belt that they have, the white
yeah,
sash belt.
and it's playing a bit off both East and West designs of the Grim Reaper.
Mm-hmm.
In Japanese, it's the Japanese clothes. For the East, for the Western part, it's the black color because black is not a color of death in Japan. White is.
And you'll find
That's
out
why.
later the colors also play a lot more of a role than you think they do.
Yeah, the reason why he actually went with bleach as a name because it was a very evocative word about color. When you hear the word bleach, you think of white. When you
Mm-hmm.
think of white in Japanese setting, you think of death.
So this is the other thing that I will say that I was mentioning earlier. He does very well is foreshadowing.
Hmm.
Now, here's what I think good foreshadowing is. It is not thought of.
Yeah,
Now, in the next arc, I'll talk about a certain spot I think was not intentionally a forethought or for
yeah, but he took advantage of it.
foreshadowing, but I think someone just looked at it like, hey, this is actually quite brilliant for foreshadowing, in my
Hmm.
opinion. Then there's other spots where foreshadowing, like you saw earlier with Ichigo, which is heavily foreshadowing a lot for later arcs.
Hmm.
That you go back, and it's like, oh shit.
That makes more sense now.
So while you could argue that some things don't make sense in the beginning, there is a payoff for a lot of it. Not everything, but a good
Okay,
majority of it.
I got a quick question for to wrap this up. So,
Certainly.
remove the ending of Rukia disappearing or being taken by the Soul Society. Could the first season of Bleach be a complete standalone show on its own?
That is debatable to me because I
Hmm.
see it one of two ways.
Hmm.
The first way is just continuing on, and it could kind of work.
Yeah,
It has a
like
strong build, but it depends on how you take it. And I
like
can't say
let's just
how
say,
because it's not done. But before
let's
you
just
go on farther, let me get to my
okay,
point B.
okay, sorry.
Point B is that no, because there's too many questions left that Soul Society would have had to get involved either way.
Hmm.
Because there's so many unknowns, there's so many questions that Soul Society would get involved one way or the other. Would have involved getting Riki kidnapped? I don't know, but it would. I think it would led somewhere towards that same direction from the build up.
See, for me, it actually could have been a self-contained show very easily. You change one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but rather than Rukia leaving for the Soul Society, Ichigo wakes up one morning and he's lost all the powers, and Rukia's got them back. She says her goodbye, thank you, and we are left with Ichigo wondering about the Soul Society. But that's the end of the show. I've watched many a show with an ending kind of lines of, okay, we don't know the bigger scope of the world, but everything seems okay now. I'm fine with that.
Okay, when you put it like that, where my brain hadn't thought of,
Hmm.
I could have.
Yes.
Would I have liked it? No.
No,
I'll be fair.
I
I,
don't.
I would
I
not
don't.
have liked that, but I,
No,
I, I could see
I
it as a solid ending either way.
no, I don't actually like that ending either. But I would have been all right with it. It would have led to a lot of more interesting fan fictions and fan theories, which, yeah.
But
But overall, I think Bleach could have been a standalone show. This season could have been it. That's it. From here on out, no, there is absolutely no way. Each arc connects to the next arc almost too much.
yeah, the moment Renji and Byakuga showed up to kidnap Rukia, you connected too many dots,
Hmm.
and that's
And
where
from
my
here
brain
on,
was going.
yeah, from here on out, the train cannot stop.
No, there is no
And
stopping that train.
yeah, and I honestly feel that is actually both a strength and a weakness of Bleach a bit more. I think they definitely connect one season to the next a lot better than say what I remember Naruto's seasons,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit better than some of Dragon Ball, but not all of Dragon Ball. Like I think from Raditz to Vegeta to Namek is so well tied together. It feels like how Bleach ends up because Taito Kube has admitted many times his idol was Akira Toriyama. He tried to do a lot of things like him, and the other person he greatly respected was the creator of Naruto. He referred to him as Sensei
Mm-hmm.
because he was a few years older than Kubo and part of Shonen Jump a bit longer than he was. There's actually a quote from Kubo that really broke my heart. About it is that he's talking to Naruto's creator and said, "Sensei told me when as soon as you hit 30, all of your speed and your stamina as a mangaka disappear." And Sensei could not have been more right.
Mm.
Because Kubo turned 30 while drawing Bleach, and it's when he really started to slow down in terms of what he could do and how exhausted he was. But he did not want to stop his story. He wanted to finish his story, even though people were telling him it's changed so much, it's bad now, your art has changed, or hey, rather than give you the 400 chapters for this arc, you have 200. But he still had to get that story out of his head, and I may not remember this for later, or I might bring it up every single time, but when Kubo was done Bleach, he felt not relief, but sadness. And it took him a long time to figure out why he was sad. He felt alone because he had spent so much time with Ichigo's friends, they were his friends, and he was
Mm-hmm.
no longer thinking about them and spending time with them. And that's the reason why Bleach is coming back in both anime and manga.
Not only
He's,
that, he actually started another series called Burn the Witch, just to
we'll
get that out there
discuss
for him.
we'll discuss that later. Because Burn the Witch is very interesting, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
quite like it as much as Bleach.
Plus, I've only
But
read like one or two chapters of it, so I don't know that much about it yet.
I keep meaning to watch the movie. There's a Burn the Witch movie, I believe.
Oh, well, I'll have to look into that. But I just want to get that out in case anybody else wants to check that out as well. To
Mm-hmm.
throw it out there
So,
now.
Soul, if you were to think of your top 20 anime, would Bleach be in your top 20 anime?
Bleach would be my top five, honestly.
Oh, wow. Okay, you place Bleach a lot higher than I do. I put Bleach in my top 15. It's
Well,
not in my top 10, but it's near the top 10. And here's the funny thing: it beats another series I greatly adore. It beats Trigun, which
mm,
I recommend Trigun over
I
Bleach to people who are new to anime.
Bleach kind of flip flops with Trigun for me because
That is
Trigun's either
totally
number
fair.
4 or number 5 for me.
That's
Depends on
totally
what the
fair.
mood I'm in for. Because the heroes, well, both voiced by
Yeah, we have not discussed the brilliant performance of the dub and the Japanese actors. Bleach is one of the few series where I can easily watch the sub.
mm-hmm.
But I prefer
So
the dub because I love Johnny Bosch as
yes,
Ichigo, and I love Michelle as Rukia. Whenever I hear her, all I ever hear is Rukia, and I don't mean that as a hey, she has no range. I'm like, hey, I hear her. Oh boy, I can think about
yeah,
Rukia.
it's one of those
Sweet.
things where even if they're trying to do a different voice, you still pick up the hints of it.
Actually, with Johnny Bosch, I don't hear Ichigo when he's doing Lelouch. I do
I
not.
do, but that's me. I'm weird like that sometimes.
I do sometimes hear Bash though when he's doing Lelouch. When he's not doing Lelouch, doing Ichigo.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's where it flip flops. Like if I'm in the mood for like a funnier main character, Trigun. If I want more of a serious character, Ichigo.
Mhm. Okay, so do we think Bleach is good to get into right now?
Oh, most definitely because we have the last bit. Because if you're gonna do it now, your best bet is to try and binge watch it, which you can skip
Yeah.
over a couple of episodes and not miss too much if you're trying to binge watch it in preparation for the final arc
Yeah.
anime for Bleach.
Yeah, I Bleach is also one where I recommend the manga. You get to really see Kubo's
Hmm.
designs really improve.
But if you're
And
more available, say like on like Netflix or Hulu, where you can watch Bleach easier.
even it's even on Funimation and Crunchyroll. Bleach is easy to track down these
Hmm.
days.
So if it's just
Funimation
easier for you
doesn't.
to watch the anime than it is find the volumes of the manga.
You can find the dub pretty easily. The
Hmm.
DVDs are still available in some shops. I can see them every now and then.
Yeah. So, but whichever way you find availability to get it, I would definitely start now in preparation for the final arc.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, that could lead to some burnout, in my opinion. So I recommend not let. I recommend binge watching an arc and then taking a day or two break.
Well, here's the thing. I do not. I went back and actually looked it over. I don't remember these arcs being this long. Like I thought
That
this was the arc
that's why
between Ichigo get his no, excuse me, Ichigo get his powers to the bit about in the second arc of saving Rukia. The whole thing about that. I thought that was all one arc, and the time in the human was a lot shorter. And it
mm,
was just like because I was so invested in everything, I didn't realize how much time was in there.
that's why like, even if you can invest it, you can still burn yourself
Hmm.
out. I've done that many a time with long running animes. It's one of the reasons why personally I prefer shorter animes.
Yeah, but well, it wasn't a bad thing. But it was like I was just enjoying myself so much. I did not realize that it was a lot longer than I thought it was.
If okay, my advice for someone if they want to get into Bleach right now and binge the catch up to the new anime is actually the manga
Yeah, I can see that.
because yeah,
It
the
does cut
anime.
out a lot of the um,
Mhm.
not essential. Because here's the thing: the filler was made for the anime because the manga had to catch up. That's how fast
Yeah,
they were going.
yeah, they were doing
So
they both
to
extended
yeah,
and cut down some things the manga did just to get to the good things
hmm
better faster, and they
so
really shot themselves for that.
I'll say it now, and we'll probably go back again when we get to the filler to talk about it. The filler itself is not the issue.
No,
It's it's the placement of when the story in it is placed
there's
that
only one filler arc that
feels natural flowing. The
yeah,
rest almost gives you a feeling of whiplash from one story to another. You almost think that you missed something.
yeah, and
And
especially you do if you like missed a weekend.
hmm
And hey, why is YTV showing stuff about uh I forget what that arc that was.
yeah, so you almost get a whiplash, not because of tone, because it manages to keep the same tone for everything and everyone. It's not
Yeah,
like filler where, well, one or two of them are like that,
yeah.
but there's no like tone whiplash. It's more like, did I miss the ending of the arc? Because I was building up pretty well. I thought that would have gone on like another eight
I'm pretty
episodes.
sure at literally one point Ichigo's about to swing his sword at one of the main villains, and then next time we'll discuss. Like they actually screen cap, and Ichigo's like, "Wait, what's going on? Why is the background changing?" And like, "Hey, we're going on to filler art," and he's like very upset by that. They make fun of it, but at the same time, we ourselves are like, "Oh my god, no!"
Yes, and that's the main problem with the filler. It's the placement of it, not the story itself. Most of
There
the
are
time.
two spots they could have done filler that I think would have fit perfectly fine in Peach's fast-paced story, and they only did it for one.
Hmm. And we'll get to that later at the end. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, we'll mention when that filler specifically sprung up, but we won't go into what the filler was until the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we want to try and get a little bit more of the main story out, just in case this goes on
Yeah,
longer than we intend.
yeah. So
But
for us,
as a bit of a
let's.
tease,
Oh yes,
let this be a filler point for the next episode.
yes. Next episode, we will return immediately for the Soul Society or the Rescue Rukia arc.
And just let that image burn into your mind, because that is relatively a good point for it. Because things don't go as planned, people, and they never do.
No, you know what they say about plans? They fall apart as soon as they meet the enemy. And what a colorful bunch of enemies we're going to see next time.
Well,
But
I'm your host, Soul. This is my co host, M.
we hope you've enjoyed two guys rambling forever about a show they still greatly adore.
Well, we'll see you next time, which should be. Let me see here. If everything stays on schedule, I should have this up, the next episode up, probably on the 15th. Because I'm probably going to try and get this up around the 8th or ninth.
Well, Soul's dated us. If we get it wrong, let them have it.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. And please, feel free to comment below what your favorite parts of it are and what you think of Bleach.
Not to spoil it for anyone who is here for the first time, but hey, it's sometimes spoilers happen. We understand that, and we wish you health. I don't know. We don't have to exit yet.
Goodbye,
Just
everybody.
take care of yourselves, people.